This is the knockout artist, Chris Hero. And if you're looking for some true heel heat, you better listen to them boys.
Rob Van Dam, listen to Tru Heel Heat. Pow!
Yo, what up? You know what it is. It's your boy AJ Francis reporting to you live from New York City, the birthplace of hip-hop. And I'm telling you that I'm only tuned in with Tru Heel Heat Wrestling. Holla at me.
What's going on, everybody? This is your former AEW World Heavyweight Champion. Once a champion, always a champion. Swerve Strickland. Whose house? Swerve's house. You're watching Tru Heel Heat podcast.
It's Saturday, and you know what that means. It's time for some Tru Heel Heat. We got a lot on the plate for the Saturday morning cookout, including conflicting reports regarding Britt Baker wanting to leave All Elite Wrestling, her contract status, and everything in between. Is AJ Styles retiring next year after an update on his contract status as well? You got the likes of Danhausen and Private Party might be on their way out of AEW and interest from WWE. And we ask the most important question in wrestling today: does WWE care about Evolution 2? Spoiler alert, no. They never care about women, and Triple H cares even less about black people. This is a Tru Heel Heat flagship podcast. Hello. It is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. We are live on the Tru Heel Heat YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. for Tru Heel Heat 336. Doctor is in or out, discussing the latest wrestling news, including the conflicting reports surrounding Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D, wanting out of All Elite Wrestling. Does WWE even care about Evolution 2 next Sunday? A recap of this week in wrestling with AEW Dynamite 300 featuring Kenny Omega's return to reunite the Golden Lovers with Kota Ibushi, ROH TV, CMLL, Viernes, Espectacular with Beast Mortals in the main event. You had WWE SmackDown last night featuring Drew McIntyre and Trish Stratus returning to set up top matches for next weekend's Saturday night's main event, and Evolution. Raw on Netflix featuring CM Punk possibly starting a rivalry with Gunther. NXT featuring finally some build for a Great American Bash. You had Evolve, NJPW Tanahashi Jam and Soul Day 8 featuring Zack Sabre Jr., the new IWGP World Heavyweight Champion, and all the news coming out of that, as well as Gabe Kidd versus Hiroshi Tanahashi, TNA Impact. Plus, we got our best, worst, and moments of the week. And of course, to do all of that, I am joined by my esteemed colleague. He is the true draw himself. Josh, how are you feeling?
I'm feeling good. I was say, like, are we in? I was like, I thought we weren't on screen. I got worried a little bit. No, I'm doing good.
I was like, are we live? Are we live, pal? Yeah, we are live. We are live. No, yes. How's your week been going for you, sir? It hasn't been that long. It's only been 6 days since our last flagship podcast.
It's been going. I tell you that much. There's been a lot going on at work. Some things going on at work that is like more annoying than anything, more annoying than it's stressful. But besides that, I mean, yeah, everything's been fine. I can't complain too much, you know.
Good to hear. And of course, we got a lot to discuss from the wrestling world, so we appreciate y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. Either way, show your appreciation back. The simplest way possible is by dropping a thumbs up on the video. That helps out so much. Helps out the YouTube algorithms and other wrestling fans like yourself to see this Tru Heel Heat content. You can also share this video with all your wrestling fans, friends, and family on all your favorite social media platforms. If you are new to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel, hit that subscribe button, hit the bell to stay notified for all the great content here. We got live streams, we got pre-recorded cuts from this flagship podcast every single week. We also got previews, reviews, and everything in between. So you should hit the subscribe button and hit the bell so you always get notified whenever we go live. And of course, if you're watching us live, you're watching us on demand, we want to hear from all of you. This is an interactive podcast, so comment down below if you're watching us on demand. We've been getting a lot of comments on our last THH cut. We got a controversial one there that's getting a lot of comments, so check that out as well. But comment down below and let us know what you thought about this week's flagship podcast. Any of the news that you want to discuss, you could say it in the comments down below if you're watching us on demand. And of course, if you're with us live, that's the best way to interact with us. It's an interactive podcast, so you are like a host of the show. You dictate the conversation and where we go, so sound off and we'll highlight as many of your comments as possible. But of course, if you're feeling generous, you want to give back to what we do here, you want to show your support to the Tru Heel Heat YouTube channel and our flagship podcast, and you want to make sure your comment is highlighted on screen. I'm not going to highlight every single comment, but to make sure you get your comment highlighted on screen, you could send a super chat donation. It goes a long way to help the channel grow and move forward. It goes back to all the contributors that you see on screen with us here. So we always appreciate the support. We got a couple of people already in the chat with us today. We got Zack, who says happy Independence Day. Happy 4th of July to everyone who celebrated yesterday. And to OKC Thunder fans, happy FKD Day. We also got Blood Money in the chat, who also wishes us a happy 4th of July. We got Blood Money, who also asking about the lineup for the 5-star Grand Prix for Stardom. Yes, I did see the lineup this morning. I know the good brother Scott E Wrestling, who is our the person we go to even for Stardom coverage. I think we've been talking, and we might be doing something ahead of this year's 5-star Grand Prix, so be on the lookout for all of that. But he put up the lineup on his social media. The full block, I think it's for the Red Star. You got Saray's gonna be in this year's tournament. Bozilla is gonna be in this year's tournament. A lot of debuts from the tournament this year as well. You got Saya Ida, you got Mayu Amasaki, you got Emi Saray. Like I said before, Bozilla's in the tournament. Saya Kamatani, the World of Stardom champions in the tournament. Hanan, Meisera, Lady C. You got B. Priestley, who was just released from WWE in February. She's returning to Stardom, where she was like the top gaijin over there. She's going to be in this year's tournament. Starlight Kid, Azumi, the regular faces of Stardom. The notable people that aren't going to be in the tournament are Shuri, of course, Tam Nakano, and Mayu Iwatani, who left the company, and Hazuki, who might be making another excursion to the United States. So she's kind of been removed from the US scene for much of this past year. So we might be seeing her come to the United States while the 5-star Grand Prix is going on. So a really good lineup. We'll probably talk more about that on next week's show, when we can really dive in and talk about the blocks and everything. We got Chuck Berries, who says, "Good morning, THH fam. Hope everyone in the States are enjoying their holiday weekend, and well wishes to our international brothers and sisters." Look at that. That's so nice. So nice of you. So nice of you, Chuck Berries. We also got Sharik in the chat. Thanks for joining us today. We got Greg Carter II, who says, "Good morning, everyone," in the chat. We got Frantic World, who says, "What's up, SP3 Josh in chat." We also got a bunch of people who's sending us the 4th of July love. Senior Nerd asking, "When will AEW sign Bozilla?" I mean, all they got to do is watch some Stardom, and they'll see why they need to sign her. And they just have a Battle of the Behemoths matchup, a rematch from Joey Janela Spring Break with Bozilla and Megan Bayne. But they got to push Megan Bayne more before I want them to sign Bozilla. Then push her to a championship. Then I'll be more confident in what you will do with Bozilla. You're not always the best when it comes to big men and big women. So gotta keep it real. But yes, we got a lot to discuss on this week's flagship podcast. But before we get into that, we of course want to send our love to everyone supporting us across social media, our Patreon page, and everywhere else with our Tru Heel roll call, our top 3 conversation starters over on our Tru Heels group page on Facebook. You got Joe Bellini, you got Vegas Bad Boys of Podcasting, you got Stewie John Palmer. Our Patreon backers, you got Volop, you got Negro Bucknick Jackson, you got Professor Chris, Trey, Robert, Steve, Ladarius, John Martin, Dolores, James, Alan, Santo, and Justin. Thank you so much for supporting us over at patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat. $3 a month gets you exclusive content. That's the best way to support us when we are not live here, and you get a bunch of exclusive content, especially this past month in June. We started our Okada versus Omega rewatch series with me and Jimmy McElroy going back and watching each of the Okada versus Omega matches from New Japan Pro Wrestling. We finished it up this week. It dropped yesterday on our Patreon, so it's a good time to spend that $3 and check out how me and Jimmy reacted to all the action that went down. 204 minutes. between 4 matches, 204 minutes. I did the calculations. That is how long those Okada and Omega matches lasted. And Jimmy had high praise for the first and the fourth one, especially, but he loved all the matches and said it's one of the greatest series of all time. So go over to patreon.com/Tru Heel Heat to check that out. The first edition of that rewatch series did drop here on the channel. So if you want a taste of what you got over at Patreon, you can check that out right now or after we're done with the flagship here. And so we got to get into everything. Before we get into everything, you know, we also got to talk about stuff outside of wrestling. I know there's people that hate that. I've seen the post on Fightful on In the Weeds. People hate when we not talk about wrestling on a wrestling podcast. We keep it short and sweet here, but I did want to ask Josh on air, since I asked him in our private chat, what do you think about the Knicks getting Mike Brown?
I still kind of feel the same way. I don't hate the move, but do I love it? Not yet. I'll give it a chance. Like I said before, you know, Mike Brown, we know what he brings to the table. I think he's an overall great coach in his own way. I think what he's going to do for the Knicks lineup, I think he's going to expand the offense, because that's usually what he's good at. Expand the offense. Use guys less minutes, because I think that was also a big problem too when it came to the Knicks. There was a lot of guys who were being used a lot and maybe a little bit too much. So I think he's going to handle that very well. You know, so those are the positives with him. The negatives with Mike Brown is his personality. Sometimes it could be really good. Sometimes it could rub people the wrong way. But then also I think is when it comes to X's and O's, sometimes he does have an issue during the middle of the game to adapt. Like he has an issue with changing things around during the middle of the games. But you know, I think the good weighs out more the bad for me. So I think overall, I think it's a good hiring. I know a lot of people are excited about it, but overall, I mean, you know, I do understand that they want to go with experience. He does have the experience. And, you know, usually when I'm a fan of a team, I usually want them to go after coaches that are like, you know, they have experience, they've been there before, you know, and Mike Brown does have that, you know, especially, you know, when he was assistant for the Warriors, for the Dynasty Warriors, you know, so, you know, well, I'll wait and see, but I like the hiring.
Yeah, I don't, because Mike Brown has coached the Los Angeles Lakers before. I know he's not a winner. He's a winner as an assistant. If he was an assistant, yeah, I would have high praise for that hiring. But as the head coach, this is not an upgrade from Tom Thibodeau. Like that's the whole thing. When you have a coach you took your team to the conference finals, you need an upgrade from that. Michael Malone was right there. Michael Malone would be considered an upgrade from Tom Thibodeau. This is like This is like Tom Thibodeau light, except Mike Brown's not a real defensive coach. And defense has been your weakness, even though you had a defensive-minded coach in Tom Thibodeau. The reason why you lost like the last couple of games outside of game one, which was just a once-in-a-blue moon kind of comeback, the way the Pacers came. But the reason why y'all lost the last game, game 6, the reason why y'all lost the games in Indiana was because you guys are not good on pick-and-roll defense. You guys are your 2 top players are not good at a pick-and-roll defense, and they got picked apart. They got targeted on defense every single time out. So I would have expected them to get a defensive coach, a coach that knew them well. If you're not going to get an upgrade from Tom Thibodeau, Johnny Bryant was right there, who was the assistant for the Knicks early on with Tom Thibodeau, and he knows the players really well. That was a good option for you. Like I said, Michael Malone was the best option out there. Mike Brown,
I think,
team, I don't know. I've asked multiple Knicks fans. None of them have had a good argument for this being a good hiring.
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, you know, again, I don't love the hiring. I think it's a solid hiring just because of what he brings, right? at least for me. But again, I've even questioned, like, when they fired Thibs, I even said, like, I thought Thibs should have got another year at least. You give the man another year, you give him an extension, you give him another year. Why? Because he brought them to the third. He brought them to the third round. So I think he should have been given another year at least. And then even when you asked us, I even said, I questioned. I was just like, I really don't know if he could do what Thibs did, meaning, like, is this the answer to the guy that, you guys got to third round? Is Mike Brown the solution to actually get to the finals, possibly winning the championship? And the answer is I really don't know at the moment. And that's why for me, also, again, like, I saw people being excited about it, overly excited. For me, I was a little weird because it was just kind of like, I mean, it's not the worst move, but I was just like, what do you guys love about this move? Like, what's your reason of loving this move? I think it's always important to look at the pros and cons. So I think people really probably didn't really do their homework when it comes to Mike Brown, in my opinion, just because, like, again, offensively, I know what he could bring to the table. I think offensively, there's things he could do. And then also the Knicks did load up on that bench. So that helps greatly. But on the downside is the defense is going to take a hit. When you already don't have the best defenders, like, Cat doesn't play defense like that. So it's one of those things where you got to look at it. You got to look at it that way. And I do agree with the Mike Malone thing. I think the issue with Mike Malone is that a lot of teams haven't really bothered to, like, really talk to him, or I don't know what's the situation, just because of the way he left Denver. Obviously it was controversial because it was right before the playoffs, but once you hear that the players were disconnected, the players were over it, the players just, were kind of tired of him, that does take a hit. That does take a hit on your reputation. And I think that there was a lot of teams who've been pretty, I don't want to say scared, but they've backed off because of his style. Like, we know what he brings, but then also when it comes to personalities, when it comes to how you present yourself, I think a lot of teams backed off, and I believe the Knicks did back off, because the Knicks, the way they tried to do the hiring process was a little strange.
They didn't even reach out to Mike Malone.
Yeah, not only that,
there's a difference between backing off and not even inquiring.
Yeah. Oh, no, I mean, as in, like,
they tried five different teams, and they got like if the Knicks would have just hold on to Tom Thibodeau, they would be no question the favorite going into next season. But because they did that stupid move, they are just in a flux right now. And even hiring Mike Brown is not the solution.
Yeah, like, because even even though, like I said, like, the hiring process was a little weird to me, because, like, I know, like, teams ask permission all the time, but the fact that the Knicks were asking, like, teams permissions for their head coaches, I thought that was a little strange, because I've never heard of that. I've never heard of hey, can we talk to your head coach to see if he wants to coach us? Your assistants, I understand. Your assistants, they get the best opportunities because of, the team's successful. They get the open door, so they get permission, and usually they talk, and that's how a lot of new coaches get the opportunities, right? But the fact that, they hit up the Rockets for Udoka, they hit up the Mavericks for Jason Kidd. Those were a little strange to me, because I'm just like, they're gonna stay with those teams. Like, they're not. Udoka has been great with the Rockets. You think they're gonna let him go?
Yeah,
that's not happening. This is a great
point too. You have a former player who's a head coach who no one wants to interview. He says, ANJ Network says, I told a lot of people Mike Malone was the best option. However, I do have to question what the fuck is wrong with Mark Jackson. Why wouldn't you at least interview Mark Jackson? Like, the Knicks went about this. They had no plan. They just
didn't.
fired Tom
Yeah.
Thibodeau and had no plan afterwards because the Knicks are
Yeah.
not a well organized organization.
Because it's James Dolan. James Dolan was the one that made the move. Like, he was the one that made the call to fire not only Tom Thibodeau, but then, you know, when they were doing the hire and when they were doing like the process, he was the one that basically had final say. Like, all right, is this the guy that we want? So, you know, usually when owners get involved, and then that aspect is always kind of one of those things where they make it pretty messy. As far as Mark Jackson, I think Mark Jackson, that situation, I think that's an overall thing. I don't think it's just a Knicks thing. Obviously, he's been blacklisted and he's been blackballed I've heard certain rumors. I don't know what's exactly true. Something must have happened that he hasn't gotten an opportunity ever since. It's just not a Knicks thing. Again, he hasn't coached for almost how long now? Like, it's been like what, 15?
Going over a decade now.
Right? And that's kind of one of those things where that's pretty telling. I'm like, if there hasn't been a single team that hasn't want your services, that's an overall NBA thing. I don't think it's just a Knicks thing, in my opinion. And it seems, I don't know what's going on with that, but he's obviously blackballed in some form of capacity. So, yeah.
We got Vala with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Vala, for the support. He says, happy fireworks and BBQ day to all who celebrate. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Vala, for the super chat donation and supporting us as always.
I mean, fuck the fireworks. I'll tell you that much, because, man, that should have been, the last 2 days had been hell, more so because of Prince. You know.
Well, I understand. Fireworks always bother dogs. But let's get into what we miss, and we're gonna start off this week with All Elite Wrestling and AEW Dynamite 300. The show did not do very well in the ratings. All the ratings were down this week across the board, but because of the holiday week, I think. But they did 584,000 viewers. The show featured Hangman Adam Page opening the broadcast to issue a challenge for a Texas death match against Jon Moxley at AEW All in Texas. This led to Moxley coming out to try to convince Page that he doesn't want this match before a brawl broke out that led to Hangman pulling out a damn fork and the Death Riders coming in to intervene. They laid out Page, did Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta, while Moxley escaped through the crowd. Page called the D-Riders back until the Ops came out to have his back. Then he stopped Marina Shafir from attacking him with the AEW World Title briefcase and held the case hostage to get his match with Moxley, who eventually accepted. Finally, Page wanted to show Moxley how far he was willing to go, what lengths he was willing to go to defeat him in the Texas Death Match, and hit Marina Shafir with a buckshot lariat, taking that poor woman's head off to the cheers from the crowd in attendance. So it is official. It will be Hangman Adam Page challenging Jon Moxley for the AEW World Championship in Arlington, Texas, in a Texas Death Match next Saturday. Mercedes Mone beat Mina Shirakawa in a great bout to retain the TBS championship. Post-match, Monet attacked Mina and Timeless Tony Storm to stand tall after licking Tony's cake in the process. The cake with icing, not her. Well, you know. MJF picked up a win over AR Fox, Anthony Bowens, and Brody King in a fun four-way to earn the number 2 spot in the men's casino gauntlet at All In. Post-match, Mark Briscoe came out to set up a talk with MJF next week. Then Jet Speed showed up and tried to go after the Hurt Syndicate, but they were completely punked out like geeks and attacked by Bobby Lashley and Shelton Benjamin, not once, not twice, but 3 times straight. until Speedball Mike Bailey and Kevin Knight stood up and Knight challenged Shelton Benjamin to a match on Collision 100 tonight. Konosuke Takeshita and the Young Bucks beat Bandito and Paragon in a tremendous trios bout. That was one of the best party matches of the year so far on Dynamite. Just an electric crowd and the electric action between all 6 men. Post-match, though, Swerve Strickland and Will Ospreay once again issued a challenge after going after the Young Bucks and issued their challenge for All in Texas. After the Bucks turned it down, Ospreay said that if they lose at All In, both Will and Swerve will not get a shot at the AEW World title for 1 year. So the Bucks put up their EVP titles, while Swerve and Ospreay put up a shot at the AEW World Championship for 1 year, which legitimately pissed Strickland off in the process, but he eventually agreed with the stipulation. Later, Swerve and Ospreay got it together and picked up a win over LFI in a good tag team bout. And finally, Kazuchika Okada defeated Kota Ibushi in a terrific main event that turned back the clock to their NJPW rivalry and had a ridiculous avalanche tiger driver by Ibushi in this matchup before Okada put him away with the Rainmaker. Post-match, Okada and Don Callis family jumped Ibushi until Kenny Omega made his return to make the save, and the Golden Lovers reunited by hitting a double team assisted German suplex on Trent Beretta, hugging in the ring and standing tall ahead of All in Texas when Kenny Omega faces Kazuchika Okada for the AEW Unified Championship, winner takes all, in Globe Life Field next Saturday. What did you think about Dynamite 300? I said it on AE Ramble. I said it on Twitter as well, Josh. I thought this was the best overall show episode of Dynamite heading into All in Texas so far. I thought the Arena Mexico show was great. I thought the post Double or Nothing show was also great. And I thought the Dynamite halves of Summer Blockbuster and Fyter Fest were really damn good. But this was overall great and the best episode to me because it mixed in build up for All in Texas, which should be the most important thing, also making it feel like a big show since it was the 300th episode, as well as mixing in some fantastic pro wrestling throughout the night. So I thought overall this was the best show of the build. What did you think?
Basically the same. It was a great episode. I like the fact that not only we got like a great show in ring, but they did some things building up to All In, meaning, you know, like not only the buildups, but, you know, certain things got kind of cleared up, like the stipulation for the tag team match between Swerve, Ospreay, and the Young Bucks, like that, you know, means something now. It makes it interesting. You know, so they did really good with that. And then, you know, building up the world title match that now we know what we're getting. We're getting Texas Death Match, which means we're gonna get a lot of fuckery in that match. I'm kind of glad that that's the route they're going, just because I think that's kind of a match like unique chaos. And you know, we've kind of seen these main event matches with Mox that haven't gone really well. So at least this adds a stipulation of something that not only both guys do well at, but again, it's going to be pretty chaotic. So, you know, I look forward to that now. Like, I mean, I looked forward to the match before, but I think now it's more like, all right, like we're, you know, motherfuckers are going to basically kill each other in Texas. And then everything else, you know, seeing Kenny back, you know, and that was a fun match. Ibushi and Okada. That was a really fun matchup. It was better than I kind of expected, just because Ibushi, I'm still, I guess you could say, reserved on Ibushi, but he's looked good. So it's coming back.
He's back. Yeah. He's not washed. He's not washed anymore. I think he's back. This match proved it. This was a great match. I thought it was terrific.
especially when he did that fucking move from the top rope. I was like, oh my god.
The Avalanche Tiger Driver. I was like, that's ridiculous. That should probably be the end of the match.
Yeah, but it's good to see Ibushi back. But he looks good, right? Because that was one of the main concerns when we were seeing Ibushi, where it was just like, kind of saw a guy who was out of shape. He didn't seem motivated. Something was going on with him. Then he gets injured, and then now it just seems like all that time off kind of just not only motivated him, but we're kind of seeing that old Ibushi, which, it's good to see. If you always have that, that's always a good thing. So it definitely helps. And then that fucking the 6-man tag, oh my god, that was insane. Especially that finish when they killed Kyle O'Reilly. That was insane. I was like, damn, guys, you ain't got to do all that. Like, god damn.
They killed Bandito before that with the triple team Meltzer driver into the hold him up while he gets double super kicked into the wheelbarrow German suplex. I was like, yo, they just destroyed this poor man. This poor man just got destroyed.
They had to drag him. Just so he could make the tag. Like, it was funny. Like, I thought that was a nice touch. And then they fucking killed the Kyle O'Reilly almost the same way. Like, they did like their moves, and it was dope. It was, Young Bucks and Konosuke. I was like, damn, like they make a great trios.
Yeah. I was like, the Young Bucks really have come back into rare form. They really feel like one of the best tag teams in the world today. I would say they're honestly the best male tag team of the year so far. I think that, like, over in Stardom, they got Wing Gory, Osaya Ida, and Hanan, who are having a great year. So they are probably in the running for like best tag team of the year. The first 4 months, you had Fraxium over in NXT, but they've kind of taken a backseat despite having a banger last night with the Lucha Cousins. They've kind of taken a backseat since they came on SmackDown. I know that, SmackDown, you got a bunch of great tag teams over there, but the Young Bucks, since their return at Dynasty, they just look like they are back, and they now care about having great matches again. They had the great match with Jet Speed on Dynamite after their return. They were a part of one of the best matches of the year with the Anarchy in the Arena at Double or Nothing. And then all their multi-man matches they've been great in, but this was the best of their multi-man, like trios, 8-man tags that they've been having. This was just nonstop action, and it was in front of their hometown crowd, so it felt like a PWG trios matchup.
Yeah, in regards to Young Bucks, their work speaks for itself, no matter people wanted to hate them or what. So I mean, they always got to end them. It's a matter of being motivated. It's a matter of like what they're doing. Does it matter? And I feel like a lot of the stuff has mattered again. And that's been fun to see, because I think these guys are too good to be one of those guys to be complacent. Sometimes, I understand, like, sometimes it happens, right? Sometimes, people get kind of stuck in this bubble. And I felt like the time off for them, they probably needed that time off, and and it's been working out so far, because they haven't even really needed the tag titles for the stuff that they've been doing. I think that's a plus. I think that's always a plus. So it's fun to see like they're doing stuff that matters, not only again, but like again, a lot of people, they talk about like their gimmicks and like their corniness. I like the EVP gimmicks. But then also more so, like they kind of amped up like the stupidity, especially like when Double or Nothing, when they came out and that entrance that they did, like that was hilarious. Like, it's fun stuff. It's funny because they're just being themselves, and they're not trying to pretend to be something they're not. Like, they're being themselves, and that's what I like about stuff like that. But this match itself, I was like, God damn! Like it proved that they still got it. No matter what, like. You put them in a good match, you put them in something that works out. And that's why, like, in All In, like, I know a lot of people weren't too big on like Swerve and Ospreay being attacked, but I'm like, if they're working with the Young Bucks, I'll take that any fucking day of the week. I'm like, they're working with one of the best tag teams in the world. So it was like, it's a good thing. And the build-up for them too has been pretty good. Like the way that Swerve and Ospreay has been working. And then that stipulation, you saw how Swerve got pissed. He's like, the fuck you trying to do to me, bro?
But it was the right move to add that stipulation, because now I don't know for sure who's winning. Like, I was pretty certain that Swerve and Ospreay were going to win that matchup, but now I kind of feel like the Bucks winning is the more interesting option moving forward, of Swerve and Ospreay not being able to get a shot, especially if Hangman wins, and especially if Swerve has to help Hangman win. He has to help Hangman win and then watch him be champion for a year without him being able to get a shot at him. That's just great stuff. That's a great story within itself. Just a concept. That's a great story. I think in the EVP titles, they don't mean that much. Like, I feel like the interesting option is Swerve and Ospreay losing.
Yeah, and then also because the EVP stuff, they already made it clear that they're not there to take it. They're there to basically, like they lose, and it goes back to, I guess Tony Khan. Right? Or I know they said
I didn't need Swerve to say that.
Ospreay
saying that, that's perfectly fine. Swerve saying that's just veered way away from him being the anti-hero that got him over. He sounded way too white meat babyface, saying, we're giving it back to the fans and Tony Khan. I was just like, ugh.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I was just like, oh, like, so that's what they're I mean, honestly, I would have loved to see like what they would do, like imagine Swerve having power, like EVP titles, like that. I thought that would be.
He's absolutely right. I love Will, but Will can't have that type of power.
Oh no, he can't, because you know how Will is. Like, he'll be drunk with power. But it's funny. It's a funny concept though, because it makes it interesting. But like when he said that, I was like, oh, so they're just gonna lose it and. Like, that's it. Like, they lose the titles and that's it. Like, so I think them losing will be more interesting, just because like you're gonna have to be creative for a year to see like what these guys do. If you're keeping them away, they just can't go into the Cody Rhodes vortex of gatekeeping. Like, get away, stay away from that, please. Like, don't. But that is gonna be interesting for sure.
Yeah. Volop says, party match, ? Did you not see Simon Miller's tweet? To answer that question respectfully, no, I did not. And he says, you can't call them party matches anymore. And my response to you, Volop, with all due respect, I love you, but fuck that. I'm calling it a party match. It's a party match. It's a party match for a good reason. It's not a negative condensation. I don't care how many grifters want to make it a negative condensation. Party match means a match that is all action, that has the people on their feet. They're having a good time. They feel like they're at a party. It's a positive thing to say about a matchup. Respectfully, Simon Miller is one of the GOATs of the wrestling YouTube, but I did not see the tweet, nor do I care about the tweet. I'm calling it a party match. Respectfully.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mr. Vonda says Kazuchika Okada still has the best drop kick in the biz. I completely agree with you there. And seeing his drop kicks back in these Kenny Omega matches, I'm just like, I need like 14 of these drop kicks in the matchup, because he was hitting like 10 of these joints in these 69-minute matches. Volov says, give me Golden Lovers tag run. I'm down for the Golden Lovers or Swerve Spray being tag teams, because we're going to need it at this point, because the only down part of this week's Dynamite is, what the hell are we doing with this tag team title build? Like, oh my God, that was the worst segment of the show. They are just good. Like, Speed by Bailey is getting over by having great matches, and he's only lost once. He's only been pinned once in AEW. Kevin Knight has been getting over despite taking losses. And this is the build where they just get demolished and squashed every week. And I'm supposed to be like, oh man, they have more guts than brains because they stood up. No, they look like geeks. They look like geeks. There's no you could say, oh, but they're gonna win at All In. Then the Hurt Syndicate look like geeks because they squashed them for weeks.
Yeah, I mean, and I think when it comes to basic wrestling stuff, right? When somebody gets over before like the build up, the concept is, oh, that means this person is gonna win, right? But then it's like when it's constantly done, you're kind of overcooking it. You know what I mean? Like it's being overdone to the point that it's like, so when they win, is it gonna matter? It's gonna hurt the other team. Like that's, and I don't think that's a good thing. So I get what people are trying to say, but it also I think it's being done a little too much because, like, again, you had these guys, they did kind of look like dorks. I'm not gonna lie. They're like in the ring, they got beat up, and then they got like their ribs already taped up. So you guys came back out to get your asses whooped. Or okay, cool.
You're telling me they can't have one moment where they're on top. They had that one time at Fyter Fest, and it's been 3-4 weeks of them just getting squashed every time out.
Yeah, and again, I'm really not a fan of that. I don't mind like a nice build up where it's like back and forth, right? You kind of get like some, because again, like, I think Kevin Knight and Speedball have worked very well together. I've been happy about that. Like, not only they're getting used, but I think that they're like what they've been doing has been working on, like, to an extent of them working together. But in the concept of like the Hurt Syndicate, I get it. You're trying to keep those guys on top. You're trying to keep, get all that stuff. But, when it comes to All In, it's just like, if they're getting their asses whooped, how the fuck are they going to beat them in the match? So it's.
And I know Dave in the Wrestling Observer newsletter, he said that the plan is for it to be a 3-way with Jet Speed, Hurt Syndicate, and the Patriarchy. Which I will say, when that's made official, that's the only way I could see the Hurt Syndicate losing the tag team titles is if they're not pinned in a 3-way. So I'll give them credit. At least they figured out a way for Hurt Syndicate to get these titles off of them, because I want either Patriarchy or Jet Speed to win this matchup, because this Hurt Syndicate title run, it had so high expectations, but they have really blew it on this one. This is like the 4th or 5th tag team title reign in a row that just did not live up to the expectations and the potential.
Yeah, because the problem is that you're kind of making these guys look a little strong. Like there's no real competitors. That's been the biggest problem. It's like, when it comes to their matches itself, right? They've kind of been like kind of the lowest rated matches, right? And I think we all kind of been accepted of that because it's like, oh yeah, it's Hurt Syndicate. They hurt people. So it's supposed to be like that, right? But then at the same time, that could also, no pun intended, it could also hurt your tag team run. And that's been kind of the thing too, where it's like you don't have really any real tag teams out there. You really don't have any real buildups. And every time you do get a match, you're just almost basically squashing the team, to close to squashing. So yeah, I'll be for it if they get, they do titles, just to get them off them. I think Lashley should be doing something more significant, like in a singles kind of capacity. So I'll be for that, honestly. If there was to lose, and then if you have it in a trio, in a 3-way match, I kind of would lean to the Patriarchy winning. That's just my take. But then also they're kind of falling into the same trap too. At least with Speedball and Kevin Knight, you might have a chance of them like, showing, defending it. The Patriarchy, we kind of saw it with Christian Cage, where Christian Cage, I think what he did with the TNT title was fine because it fits his character, but he also wasn't defending.
I thought it was great. But he was great. He was defending a lot, actually. Go back and see his title defenses. He was actually defending it quite often. He's one of the greatest TNT champions of all time. And I think that I rather them win the titles, and then you can have them have different versions of the tag team titles, since they already made those father-son intergenerational tag team titles. Just make that like their version of the tag team titles if they want to do it that way. We do got a super chat donation from Michael Allen Lewis. Thank you so much for the support. We appreciate that. He says, so Britt Baker, Danhausen, Private Party, Ethan Page, and Rick Starks, huh? 2025 WWE starting to look a lot like 2023 AEW. Serpentico
Well, I
up
mean,
next, 2026.
I
Laughing
mean,
emoji.
he named two people that are not even there. Yeah, I mean, three technically. Well, four if you really add that. But I mean, thanks for the super chat. Interesting. You got first three names. I've never seen that.
No, that's what we're going to be talking about today. All three of them are, or there's reports that that WWE is interested in bringing them in. So I understand.
I was mentioning the guy's name, Mike. Oh, Michael Anna Lewis. He got three first names. I've never seen that. Like Ricky Bobby, two first names. I've never seen three. I've never seen three first names.
Thank you so much, Michael, for the super chat donation. Always appreciate the support. We got Call Me Mr. Bonda, who says the fact that Jet Speed are going into the match injured already tells me that they're cooked. Laugh, sweat emoji, and the shrug emoji. We also got I Make Beats, who says I would like to see some more Shelty B singles matches. Enjoyed those first AEW ones, C2 and whatnot. Yeah, he was much better on his own in singles matches, which we're gonna see tonight as he's gonna face Kevin Knight and Nick Wayne in a triple threat on Collision 100. So we'll see how he does there. We also got Greg Carter II, who says Sting and Darby have already been father-son tag champions. We're going to be talking about Sting and Darby shortly here on today's podcast. But before we talk about all of that, we got to talk about the big news of the week, which is all about Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D. She was a big name in the news this week, as according to a new report from Mark O'Brien of WrestleMobs and BodySlam.net, Dr. Britt Baker, D.M.D., is said to be actively trying to leave All Elite Wrestling, which has been the rumor for some time. Baker herself added fuel to the fire with a post on her Instagram story, and the following quote was highlighted. She wrote, "A bottle of water can be $1 at a supermarket, $3 at the gym, $5 at the movies, and $6 on a plane." But she highlighted same water. The only thing that changed its value was the place. Basically she making reference to how water can be different prices in different places, and she's kind of hinting that she may need to change her place to change her value at the time. There have been rumors that Baker has been on the out with All Elite Wrestling for a while, and it had been reported back in January that there were people in the company that didn't like Baker, which is why Tony Khan hadn't been booking her. Although other reports suggested that it was overblown, either way, she hasn't appeared on television since November, when she was in the beginning of a feud with Serena Deeb, that feud that started with Britt Baker saying nobody cares, nobody cares, nobody cares, and they didn't care enough to continue that feud. It's believed she signed a 5-year deal in 2021, which would suggest that her current deal isn't up until 2026. Due to the fact that she has spent time away because of injuries in the past, AEW could potentially add time to that contract if they wanted to. A new report is disputing the notion that Britt Baker is trying to get out of her AEW contract, though, as Fightful Select reports that every source that they've spoken to has vehemently denied that Baker is trying to exit the company. Those familiar with Baker's current situation said that the idea that Baker wanted out of AEW or had communicated that to All Elite Wrestling was something they haven't heard. It was noted that in relation to the quote Baker shared on social media, Baker frequently shares and comments on posts from the page that she shared from. People in AEW said that they haven't been told of any desire Baker has to leave when they see her on the convention circuit. She is not currently booked for StarCast over All In Texas weekend, and there is no word on whether she's expected to be in the city for All In next Saturday. Baker still has well over a year left on her contract, and the site notes that if AEW added time for injury, there's a chance that she could be under contract until halfway through 2027. Baker has been set for a match with Serena Deeb late last year. That never happened. AEW sources said that Baker had been open to returning to TV, but there were holdups, in quotation marks, in the talks to bring her back. There's no word on where those holdups came from. There had been internal talks about her being brought back in for a match at Double or Nothing, but it isn't clear if Baker herself was part of those discussions or if she was made aware of them. So we're kind of in a state of flux. There's been conflicting reports either way that Baker does want to leave AEW and is actively trying to get her way out of it. And then Fightful says that they haven't heard of that. So it's not a complete denial of the original report from bodyslam.net, but they're saying that people within AEW haven't heard of that rumor or haven't heard of that report being true or not. What do you think? Do you think Britt Baker wants out of AEW, and should AEW let her out of her contract, seeing that they haven't used her in about 9 months now?
I mean, I can see a scenario where it's true because she hasn't been used. So you haven't been used. I don't see a scenario where it's like you're comfortable with that. You know, because obviously I know she has like her career, her dentist career. But I just don't see a scenario where it's like anybody would be okay with that. Just, you know, you're used and then you're getting like negative feedback from not only on screen but off screen, you're, you know, being problematic, you know, because we got called like it is too. She was being an issue. So I think it's one of those things where maybe it's best for her to leave, maybe. But at the same time, we just really don't know, right? We don't know the details. We don't know anything. But yeah, it kind of just seems like maybe there's a scenario where, like, honestly, like, I think if things can't get really repaired, yeah, I think you probably just let her go. And if she goes to WWE, she goes to WWE. And there's not much you can really do to stop that. You know, yeah. If it happens, it happens. And you know, in regards to like her attitude, obviously, if she goes to WWE, that's just not gonna fly. So it's like she could go there and, you know, she might pop over there because of her, you know, because of how she is. So if it happens, it happens. I'm not gonna be sad over it. I like Britt personally. I think the times that I've met her, she's been super nice. She's been really cool, even before AEW. So, but if it happens, it happens. You know, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
Yeah, I think it's like a situation of, I know there's people that argue that the AEW women's division has kind of passed her by, but I would say that if that's the case, then WWE women's division ain't the place for her to go. Like if the AEW women's division has passed her by, then the WWE women's division had to pass her by too, because they have more talent in WWE than they have in AEW, just logistics wise, the number of people and whatnot. Like, it just is what it is. So I think that there is some value to Britt Baker if she did return to AEW, because she is kind of the stalwart. She was the first homegrown star for the women's division, signed, the first one that got over with a new character, the first one that rose to heights that hadn't been seen for women in that company before. So I think there is some value to Britt Baker coming back, and you can find a way to use her. And she's like one of the few women that I can see them using in a non-title role. They don't have to automatically put her back into the women's title scene and stuff like that. They can put her into a non-title role, and she has the character, she has the mic work that can hold that up and be a heel against one of the likes of like your Willow Nightingales or your Chris Statlanders and stuff like that. I think there's some value for her there, and I think there is some value for her in WWE, because I think from the beginning of Britt Baker's rise in AEW, when you think about her promo skills and her character work and her just look overall, she fits to a T what WWE looks for. They look for women who can play a different character, who has that range and whatnot, who can be a cocky heel in that kind of way that Britt Baker was in her rise when she was on top as AEW Women's World Champion. And as far as like her wanting out, if she wants out, let her leave. Don't add more time to her contract. You can't worry about the circumstances that's going to fall out from that. If you have no use for her and you're not using her for 9 months, then let her go. Let her leave. Like I said, the same thing with the whole Lucha Bros situation. I think the Lucha Bros just handled that whole situation worse than Britt has. Britt with the subliminals, I have no problem with subliminals because it's messy and I love messy. Y'all know me. I'm an agent of chaos. I love me some messy pro wrestlers, and I like Britt putting out the subliminals and making people talk and bringing herself back into the conversation. Because if she didn't put out that post, we wouldn't be talking about her today. So,
and that's probably, and you know, but then also that's probably why she did that.
Yeah.
So it could be one of those situations where, you know, she probably just planted that, because, you know, people will talk about it. So it's very possible that's what she did. She didn't do it like out of, and then also was just kind of like the blue, was randomly. So sometimes you just never know by her talking, because, you know, every time she's in the news, people talk about it. Like, so, and it got people talking, and then they had people doing this report of, hey, she's trying to get herself out. But it's also kind of funny, right? When that happens, she posted that, but then all of a sudden, like, that report came out. So it's kind of like, like, that's interesting. So again, it makes you think, and it got people talking.
Oh, I 100% believe that the her putting out that post led to Mark O'Brien of Body Slam going out and doing his research and finding out that that's the rumor that's going on. Like I think one has to do with the other. It's not, oh, I've been looking for it for a while and I'm just gonna use the fact that she posted this as a way to now put it out there. I think it's a domino. It's a domino effect.
Yeah, I think he does due diligence. I don't think it's something that he just made up, because obviously, because obviously when you do stuff like that, you're not making yourself look good. I think when it comes to journalism, that's one thing you can't do. Don't run with like a narrative because somebody posted something. And I think in wrestling, there's a lot of times you see people do that shit where somebody will write something and then they run with it. Oh, it's talking about leaving WWE. Oh, because of what they said. And it's just like, what the fuck? What do you mean? Like, that's not what was like implied. So I think that person did do their due diligence just because of the wording and how it was presented. So you could tell, like, he probably did ask somebody. But it's always how like that kind of always falls hand in hand, where it's like, maybe it's true, maybe it's not true. Maybe it was just Britt starting some shit, or it could be information maybe from Britt herself. Or you never know.
Yeah, you never know, or people close to her can be talking. It can go either way with everything. So we do have a couple of super chat donations here from Michael Allen Lewis. Thank you so much, good brother. We love to see new faces in the chat showing some love and sending some super chat donations to be a part of the conversation. Michael Allen saying, love the conversation about Mercedes being influential, but I think you can say she's the most accomplished wrestler of the past 10 years. Yeah, I think like I saw some comments of people like kind of describing it like, oh, Mercedes hasn't changed pro wrestling, so how can she be the most influential? I love the fact that we had someone like Power Driver Finisher, who's one of our favorites in the chat, because he straight up asked a question. He was like, what does influential mean? And I had to give him the definition of influential. It's to have great influence on someone or something. The something in this case is pro wrestling. The someone is either her peers, other professional wrestlers, or people that inspire to become a professional wrestler, or the fans. That's why Mercedes Mone is there was a strong argument for her to be the most influential women's wrestler of the past 10 years. I saw somebody be like, and I was like, I had to tell that person who was like, oh, she hasn't changed pro wrestling. I was like, to change pro wrestling, that's not influence, that's impact. Impact and influence are two different categories when you come up with who's the GOAT. The reason why Becky Lynch is the GOAT is because she favors strongly in the impact over influence. I would give Mercedes now, with her recent run, the edge in influence over Becky Lynch, but Becky Lynch checks the box in everything else why she was my GOAT in my Sports Illustrated article. There's different categories you just have to understand, and I like the fact we had people like Power Driver Finisher who asked me straight up, and he made me look up the definition to tell him what influence and influential means. So I love the fact that we got people like that, and I love the fact you're mentioning that video, because I did see we got a lot of comments from people, even people that are featured on our YouTube channel here. Hey, Josh.
Yeah, I said yes because I was part of the conversation. And honestly, I stand by what I said in regards to that, just because I think a lot of people kind of, they kind of overlook not only what that means, but I think a lot of people, like, the problem too is that they're putting their bias blinders on because of Mercedes. It's Mercedes. So, people already have a dislike towards Mercedes that anything she does is already written off. So that's why I stand by what I said. And I think even on X, when you posted like the link and like sharing it, somebody did say, oh, to me, it's Becky, whatever the case may be. And my counter argument was that, what Becky has done is fine. Like I don't take away from, but if you're talking about overall influence, I mean, there's things that Mercedes did influence when she was in WWE, not only in the WWE, but she's also doing it outside of WWE, post WWE. And I think that's why for me, and I never said once, not once I ever said, hey, Mercedes is the most influential, but I said she has a better argument because there are things that she's done in multiple capacities that you can make a better argument. Becky has done a lot, and I've never taken that away from Becky, but also she's been in WWE. Like, she's still in that WWE orb that when I talk about influence wrestlers, you can make an argument of like other guys like John Cena. Obviously, he's a WWE lifer, but there's a different levels to it. You know what I mean? Especially how John Cena's career has gone now. But when it comes to Mercedes, I mean, again, when we were talking about it, there's a lot of firsts that she's done, a lot of firsts. And if you tell me that ain't influence, I mean, I don't know what to tell you when it comes to that. And there was a lot of firsts that she did. First, Hell in a Cell women's match. First, the black women that were able to main event WrestleMania. She was a part of that. She was a big part of that. And then now, obviously, what she's doing outside of that, when it comes to mainstream, she's become a bigger name on mainstream, being Mercedes. She puts Sasha Banks because she has the opportunity to promote herself. And then, what she's doing with AEW, not only with AEW, but because of AEW, she's influenced multiple companies, New Japan, CMLL, Rev Pro. There's a lot that she's doing that it's like, you can't tell me otherwise. And on top of that, she's the highest paid woman in the business. That benefits all the women realistically. Why? Because they're gonna see that and they'll be like, you know what? If she's getting paid that, I want close to that. So she's helped more ways than none. And a lot of people don't give her credit for.
Absolutely agreed there. Call me Mr. Bonda saying Jay Cargill is still the longest reigning TBS champion for now. Of course, that's going to end in like a month or two when Mercedes still holding the TBS championship. Because I think Cargill's run was like 16 months. Mercedes at 14 months right now, so she's about to break that. So another thing for her to add to the resume. We do have another super chat donation from Michael Allen Lewis in regards to Mercedes Mone, saying WrestleMania main eventer, first woman Hell in a Cell, a champion in WWE, CMLL, EWA, Rev Pro, IWGP Women's Belt, the longest TBS champion, and the AEW belt could be next. To a lot of people, it seems like it's already a foregone conclusion that Mercedes going to win the title. I think there's a chance. I like the fact that the best thing I can say about the All-In build is now they have 4 different matches where I can't say for sure who's going to win. It can go either way. There's a chance. There's people that are just under the belief because they've been let down so many times by Tony Khan that Jon Moxley is going to beat Hangman Adam Page. There's people like us that are trying to manifest Hangman Adam Page winning that matchup. There is the Okada and Omega. To a lot of people, I know Omega is going to be the favorite, but there is a case for Okada to win that matchup, and Omega can go on and team up with Kota Ibushi and do a Golden Lovers run in the tag team division with Swerve and Ospreay and Young Bucks. We explained how either option, Swerve and Ospreay were the favorites going into this week, but now with the new stipulation, them losing is a more interesting option. And then with Mercedes and Tony, yes, Mercedes can continue on her winning streak, collect another title, but if anyone has the best chance to beat Mercedes Mone, it's the biggest woman star in AEW history, and that's Timeless Toni Storm.
Yeah, and what benefits Tony is that she's still like hot, like she's still like over, that helps her a lot because again, like she has another layer to her current gimmick that it has people always interested, it has people engaged. So it's one of those things too that it doesn't feel like, hey, it's stale. We need to wrap this up. It's done. I could still see Tony going another few months as champion, and that's how good she's been, in my opinion.
Very true. Very true. But yes, to finish up with the Britt Baker talk, we're gonna ask one last question. Well, and you in the chat can of course answer as well because we always love to hear from you guys. Does Dr. Britt Baker leave AEW before the end of 2025? From 0 to 100, what are you putting the percentage on? I'll give the 2. You can give 2 answers. 0 to 100, she stays in AEW, and then 0 to 100, she leaves AEW to go to WWE.
Before the end of the year, I'm gonna give it. Oh, that's a good question.
Okay, I'll give her staying in AEW. I'm gonna give it 45%. Her leaving AEW to go to WWE before the end of 2025. I'm actually gonna go 55%. If we get more information and more updates, it might become a 50-50 situation, but I'm going to give the edge to, because all signs point to how Tony has done this every single time out, whether it be the Lucha Brothers, whether it be Ricky Starks, Miro, Malachi Black. He ices them. We're seeing the same situation with Private Party, and we'll bring up them a little bit later, and Danhausen as well. He ices them for months, and then he grants them their release and lets them go, and they eventually show up in WWE. And Britt Baker is showing all the signs of that. We finally got the reports. These reports are very similar to what we were hearing about Mariah May, where it was, Wrestling Observer was the one's first one who was like, she's leaving, she wants to go to WWE. And then Fightful came out and be like, we talked to people in AEW and they didn't really hear that she's for sure leaving. And then we would get the update that, yeah, she's leaving. This feels very familiar to the Mariah May situation. So that's why I'm going to give the edge to her leaving and joining WWE.
So her leaving, I give it 51%. Her joining WWE by then, 49%. because that 1% is not to make a big difference. Just because, again, I think if I find out more information, obviously that changes a lot. But because there's so much shit that we really don't know, you know, because a lot of it too is we're going off of how she's handled herself, right, with AEW. You know, I think that backstage show didn't really do her any favors. We kind of saw,
dude, that was the worst. That was the worst thing that's ever happened to her. Because you also got like Senior Nerd who says, I think Rosa and Jamie are fine not seeing Britt in the locker room. Call it a hunch. I mean, yeah, that whole situation. Like, you remember, what was it, like a year or 2 years ago? I was up here and I was bad mouthing Britt because I didn't not like how she was basically talking about Thunder Rosa on the backstage show, as well as before even that show came out. I knew that she was doing that, and that she was the mean girl in the back talking about Thunder Rosa not being really injured and faking the injury because she didn't want a job to Tony Storm. And I knew that Thunder Rosa was really dealing with some serious back issues, but she was doing all of that. And you had the whole backstage segment where her and Tony Schiavone, where Tony Schiavone was like, will you please stop talking about her? Like, you're always obsessed with her. Like, her best friend in the locker room told her that to her face. Like, stop talking. You always got Thunder Rosa's name in your mouth. Like, stop that shit. That was bad for her. And then even another thing that was bad for her is when Jamie Hayter returned last year, and then we get the reports that she doesn't want to work with Britt Baker. They had been building that story for like 2 years, and she comes back and they just not acknowledge each other.
Because you heard, I heard about that too. And then obviously the stuff that happened before All In last year, you know, the stuff with MJ getting involved, and you know, her talking shit about that segment. You know, so obviously, like, we're going based off then, right? We're kind of analyzing a lot because of her, like a lot of stuff that she's done behind the scenes, where we were like, yeah, I can see her leaving because of that. At the same time, it's like we truly don't know because we're not there, so we don't, you know. But we could see a scenario where she leaves because of that, because people, you know, probably, well, a lot of people don't like her, but then there's probably people who do like her backstage. So, you know, there's always hand in hand. You know, we kind of saw with CM Punk, where there was people who didn't want Punk there, but then there was people who were supportive of it. You know, Brody King was very supportive of Punk. You know, so it's one of those things where at the end of the day, we truly don't know, but because of so much bad shit has happened and a lot of negativity in regards to Britt, I could see a scenario where, that she leaves.
We will keep you updated with any further updates when it comes to Britt Baker. But yeah, this feels like this is going to be a story that I said this on Fightful earlier this week, and I'll say it here. I feel like this is going to be a weather report, basically weekly. We're going to have the weather is going to change every week when it comes to this Britt Baker story, where some weeks it'll be she's on her way out. Some weeks it'll be conflicting reports. Some weeks it'll be like, oh, she's definitely staying for the rest of her contract. We'll
especially if she stirs the pot, because she did do that, because I think she promoted something and she kind of like took a shot at that, or like, people think they know a lot of stuff, they think they know rumors and stuff, and while she was promoting something, I was like, what the fuck, yo. So she's gonna probably play a big part of that, honestly. She's gonna stir the pot because people get to talk about her.
Yeah. But we're going to talk about someone that we seemingly know is going to come back to AEW pretty soon. As previously noted, AEW TNT champion and tag team champion, former AEW TNT champion and tag team champion Darby Allin recently completed his climb to the top of Mount Everest, and he's been back in the United States for a little while. Fightful Select has an update on when the AEW star might be making his television return. Allin had originally planned to make the expedition foundation last year, but those plans were delayed due to injury. Fightful reports that AEW had originally hoped that Allin would be back in time for the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, but that proved to be unrealistic and too early. Allin has still yet to return to AEW TV since returning home, but it appears that could be changing pretty soon. Fightful Select reports that Darby Allin is expected to be returning to AEW quote-unquote imminently. Sources who Fightful spoke to said that they would be shocked if Allin isn't involved with AEW All in Texas in some capacity. Allin is said to have emerged from his Everest expedition relatively unscathed, and he's reportedly in good enough shape to compete if needed. Fightful also notes that they have not heard of any creative plans from AEW for Allin yet, and the wrestler has not been announced as appearing at All in Texas. According to Fightful Select as well, Sting has been discussed for a cameo or appearance of some kind at AEW All in Texas in Arlington. The belief is that he could show up with Darby Allin, and if Allin has a role set up for the show. Sting, of course, lives in Texas and previously appeared at the All In ticket on sale event back in December. He said at the time he expects to appear, and he also is being advertised for the StarCast convention, which goes on during All In week next week. So I'll put it a 0 to 100 once again for you, Josh. 0 to 100 that Sting and Darby Allin will show up in the through a portal as one of the Hang Avengers coming up at All in Texas. 0 to 100. What do you put it on that we see Darby and Sting involved in the main event next Saturday?
I'm gonna give it a good. I'm gonna be the high man on this. I'm gonna give it a good 75%, just because
you're not gonna be the high man. You're not.
You're gonna be higher.
I'm going 95%.
Yeah, you see that's high. I'm gonna stick with 75, just because I'm making. Once you got Sting in Texas, then it's like he's definitely gonna show up some kind of capacity. With Darby, obviously they said he's supposed to show up immediately, but I'll still wait on that. Like if I hear like, oh, Darby's in Texas, then yeah. But I'm gonna give 75%. I think it's still a good number, but I'm also one of those where it's like, you know what? If it don't happen, I'm scale back a little bit because they never, when it comes to Darby, because obviously him coming back from Mount Everest, I'm glad he's good. That was the main thing for me. Like that's. The fact that he's still in great shape and they say he's ready to go, that man is something else. Like he got hit by a bus in a year. He had a broken foot, and then he climbs Mount Everest. Like, yo, what is he doing? Like he's able to live this life.
He's a maniac. He's a daredevil. And you see, we got the chat going higher than even us. We got Great Carter II who gives it 100%. Our boy King of the North says 99.9. We got I Make Beats who says 101%. Dion Jenkins says John Moxley talking about the mountains and peaks. Yeah, Darby's coming. Yeah, I did not like. I wish that John Moxley's promo was stronger on Dynamite this week, because I really feel after reviewing it twice on Fightful and then on AE Ramble, I really feel that he just used a promo he was going to use on Darby Allin on Hangman Adam Page, but it did not make sense against Hangman Adam Page. Him saying, oh, you haven't reached the mountaintop yet. He's a former AEW world champion. What are you talking about? It legitimately feels like John Moxley wrote this promo for Darby and he just needed to use it. So he used it on Hangman and it didn't make sense against Hangman.
No, yeah, that part was funny because I was just like, did we forget that Hangman was a champion? Unless, how the fuck do you even try to spin this? Because I'm just trying to defend it. It's just how do you defend it? Right? Because obviously at that time he was a champion and he was in a big storyline. But I do feel now Hangman, him winning, will probably mean more than it did then, even though like the whole Kenny Omega stuff was fantastic. That was one of the best build-ups, one of the best feuds they've had in the company's history. But something now that it just feels different about Hangman, where he kind of does feel like the really top baby face. And there's something about it that, again, like it just feels different, where it's just like, yeah, I can't really I really can't put my finger on it, but it does feel like if he wins it, obviously it will matter more, not only because of you getting the belt off of Moxley, but because you're giving it to a guy that the fans absolutely love. And
Hangman feels like an Earth 2. It's basically like Sting ahead of Starrcade 1997 meets Cody ahead of WrestleMania 40, all mixed into one anxious millennial cowboy.
Yeah, I could see that. Yeah, that's actually a good thing, because it kind of does get that feel too. Like, to me, like at least like, that's actually a good comparison, honestly, because even himself when he won it last year, when he won the Royal Rumble, and then as soon as he pointed to Roman Reigns, you kind of saw the atmosphere not only in the arena but the online reception. Like, oh shit, we're actually getting Cody versus Roman too. So it kind of does feel like with Hangman, it's not even about him facing Mox, but it just feels like a redemption. Like, this is kind of what people wanted, and that's why I feel like when it comes to Double or Nothing, I think they made the right move when it comes to Hangman. No wrong with either guy, with Ospreay or Hangman, but it does feel like they went with the right guy, because not only the build-up, but some of those promos, like, he's been cutting that fucking
he's
Mexico,
been great.
That Arena Mexico promo. He did it all in Spanish. He speaks more Spanish than I do, and I'm embarrassed about that. But it was really good. Like,
to answer Brooklyn Blake, yes, Hangman has beat Moxley one-on-one. He beat him in a Texas death match. That was the other weak part of that opening segment. Mention the fact that Hangman has beaten you in a Texas death match. That's why he wants a Texas death match. Either Hangman needed to mention that, or Moxley. That's the reason why he wants this matchup. That was like one thing. That was another thing that was kind of missing from that whole segment there. And yes, King of the North. Let me get the vein ready. Inject that into my veins. He says, I want to plant the seeds of Darby Allin versus Speedball Mike match in SP3's brain. It's already in my brain and it's been festering. Now I need it in my veins. Thank you, King of the North. Now I need to go to rehab. But we got those two, possibly Sting and Darby, showing up in the All In Texas main event, but we may be getting some new names that appear in one or both of the casino gauntlets at All In Texas, including the latest report from WrestleVotes Radio that reports that AEW is interested in signing former WWE Women's Tag Team Champion Isla Dawn, and it's expected to happen soon. Dawn was recently at an AEW TV taping and is expected to work shows for the company soon. Her exact role when she debuts isn't known at this time. Dawn's last match happened back in February for a taping of WWE Speed, and she was released from the company shortly after. Another percentage we got to put on this, 0 to 100, that Isla Dawn will be a part of the Casino Gauntlet at AEW All In Texas. For the chat and for you, Josh, what do you put it on?
I'm going to give it 80%.
I'll go higher than you again, and I'll go 85%. 85%. The fact that they're saying that it's not just interest, that she's going to be coming in pretty soon, this feels like the best option to bring her in. I really want them to do like Julia Hart's version of the House of Black. Do a House of Heart with her, Sky Blue, and Isla Dawn. Isla Dawn would fit in very well with that.
Yeah, and I think, I don't know, it was a little weird seeing kind of people kind of like trying to talk shit, saying like, oh, I thought they said they were going to scale back on WWE talent. I was just like, this year they haven't even signed former WWE guys. So if they get hurt, it's not a big fucking deal. But then also, you're not breaking the bank for Isla Dawn. Like, you're not. It's going to be it'll be fine. It's one of those things where they feel like they could have. She has a good place. I think she could do well in regards to that. Like, just give her something and then you pray her up, like you said with Julia and Sky Blue. That'll be a good thing for her because she does have that spooky kind of gimmick. So
yeah,
I'm okay with it. I'm not as down like people are.
We got a super chat donation here once again. Thank you so much, Chuck Berries, who says, I can hear Shivani's voice on the call right now. It's Sting! Yes, can't wait. Next Saturday, we got it. We're getting it. It's Sting. And then he's going to go, it's Darby!
That'd be funny if he does. That'd be funny. I could see him doing some shit like that.
King of the North is not with this report, apparently. He says, oh, brother, has this WrestleVotes report been backed up by any other non-Fed friendly media outlets? And he's putting 20% on Isla Dawn being a part of the casino gauntlet. He says, where are the good matches gonna come from? I think if Sky gets healthy, Sky would probably be the best option from this group to have good matches. And I don't know what Isla Dawn. I think that Isla Dawn, as far as like being in a tag team, is probably the best site. If you want to make a tag team division, put them all together there. I think that Julia, before her injury, was having good matches and delivering in the ring. She has to get back into that form. I think it's for both Julia and Sky, they have to get back into form. For Isla Dawn, she has to work off ring rust. It's all about the gimmick, though. Some people are there for gimmicks. Some people are there to have good matches.
Yeah, and then also like
some balance there.
Yeah, but then also like honestly, like some of her vignettes that she was doing like on on her own, they actually were pretty like they're actually really good. They were actually better than I expected. Like she's not really that bad of a, to be honest. Like when I saw like some of her stuff post WWE where she was already promoting herself, it wasn't bad. So if it's a gimmick thing, I don't think it's that big of a deal. You're not breaking the bank for her, so bringing her in, it's not like, oh, well, we can't, we got to release this person, that kind of move. So I'm okay with it.
Yeah. He's talking mostly about Isla Dawn. She hasn't wrestled a match since February. I think she'll be fine. She was good from what I saw her in like the tag team division and NXT UK, and she's got a unique look and a gimmick that I think would work in AEW.
Yeah, but then who's to say that she ain't training? Who's to say that she's not training? So she's still running reps, she's still doing all that stuff. So, if you're in a situation where you just haven't worked in months, then you're not going to sign with a big company. A company's not going to have interest in you. I'm just not really buying that thing, at least in my opinion.
Michael Allen Lewis says, I think they paired Tekla with Julia and Sky in last week's Collision. I don't know if that was like an official pairing. It just seemed like Tekla was coming out to attack Queen Aminata, who she has history with. I don't know for sure. They haven't confirmed anything like that. But we also got Michael Allen Lewis with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Michael, once again for the support. He says, is it bad? I'm already burnt on Darby because of the Mox run possibly extending. Plus, this D-Rider stuff is his fault. Should have just took his title shot. I understand kayfabe wives. You're absolutely right with the last part that Darby did not have to put up his title shot against Moxley that led to Moxley winning the world title. And I understand, like, if John Moxley wins at AEW All In Texas, I think more of the blame deserves to go to Tony Khan more than Darby. But Darby will take some of the blame, of course, because you could only imagine in your head Tony Khan going to Darby Allin like, you go climb that mountain, sir, and I'll be here. We'll be here waiting for you. We'll wait for you. You're the next AEW world champion.
You got to do when you do it, you got to do the coffee. You got to do like this. You got to do the coffee. You got to also
He's going to hug him. No, he's going to hug him. He's going to hug him.
You got to do this too because he always has the coffee with him. He's like That's what Tony should do. He should do his own coffee cup every time he goes into the podcast. It's like, bro, you always got a coffee. Do your own coffee brand. for AEW or something. But I mean, when it comes to the Darby stuff, you also got to see it like this, right? Where, I mean, Darby's not making the shots on that, like, right? He's not saying, oh, that's kind of out of his control. But I also do understand that the mindset of Darby was that Darby was going to come out no matter what. Like, and I think that with Darby Allin, we gotta look at Darby Allin in a different way when it comes to like certain things, right? When people talk about like, oh, he's taking too much risk, he's doing this and that. I've gotten to a point where I'm so numb about Darby that it's like, it's Darby Allin, he's gonna do it. He's gonna like take the risk because he knows what he's doing. He's good. So I think the client of Mount Everest, they weren't gonna put the title on him because if that was already like set in stone that he was gonna do it, you're not gonna commit to a guy that he's gonna be leaving. You know, he's gonna be gone for that 2-3 months. So I understand like that mindset, but I do agree like maybe things should have happened sooner. Maybe if he didn't broke his foot the first time, he would have been back and maybe been a world champion. That did change a lot of stuff. So he was determined of doing Mount Everest no matter what. And, you know, if that's a perfect choice for him, he wanted to do that. He wanted to accomplish that goal, and he did it. At least he did it, right?
Yeah.
Imagine if he...
I have no issue with Darby doing it. I have an issue with Tony Khan basically holding the company hostage with a title run that was not working in the early part of this year. They've turned it around where the Moxley title run and the Death Rider stuff has been a net positive in a lot of different ways for AEW, and the anticipation that's going into All In Texas is a testament to that. But the early part of the year, I don't just erase that and forget it. I had a whole debate with John Escudero about it, who was like, oh, you know, it's a good thing. And I was like, no, we can't forget that it was not going so well for the first like 4 months because they veered away from the original concept of the storyline.
Yeah, and it's something that me and you did speak about last week, where I was just like, I gotta be real about it. I was like, it wasn't good in the beginning. Like, we gotta call it like it is. Like, it started off something that it could have potential, especially the Danielson stuff was good. Like the Danielson stuff, how they did was great. But after that, it took a big cliff. It took a huge nosedive because the vision that we had, it wasn't clicking. Like, you're talking about taking over a company, you're doing this, and you guys are not really doing that. And then you had like some of the bottom feeders of AEW trying to be like the ones standing up to you guys. You didn't have any top stars standing up to you guys, and it just kind of, you know, dampened after that. Like, it didn't go really, you know. And then again, from there you had your moments. Then you had
the Cope thing was the worst. The Cope
thing you dragged it down because, I don't know, with Copeland, it was just one of those things where it's like, this guy shouldn't be the one getting the title shot. He shouldn't be in the title picture. And then that happened, right? Not only, you know, it was a kind of a boring feud, but then the match kind of summed up what was going on. And that was the main event for a great show. You know, and then the Swerve stuff, we had hope for Swerve. Oh, yeah, Swerve is going to be the guy. And then that didn't happen. And then it's like, okay, where do we go from here? And then from there, they've been able to like kind of, I'm not going to say right their wrongs just because, you know, he's still champion. So you can't really right or wrong if he's still champion, but they find a way to navigate.
That too. Babyface Jay White. Yeah. That babyface Jay White didn't lead to Jay White immediately turning on Cope. That was a mistake. That was also a big bop.
Yeah. Because and that was also like something that was just like, fuck, like, what are we doing, Jay White? And then he ends up breaking his hand, unfortunately. You know, but again, like, we got, you know, like, I think on here we've always called it like it is. If something is not good in it, like, you just say it's not good. It's kind of like when we talk about the bloodline stuff, it had great moments and had a lot of, and it was, but then it got to a point where it ran its course. And it got stale, and you kind of saw creative. They stopped giving a shit because they don't even mention them as the bloodline anymore. Right? It has its good moments, it has its bad moments. We got to call it like it is sometimes.
ANJ Network says, what's disappointed more? Mox's aforementioned first 4 months as champ or the Cena heel turn? Okay, it's hard to compare because I feel like the Cena heel run is only gonna go 4 months. I think it ends at SummerSlam. I think it ends, and I said, didn't I say that from the beginning? That I said that this was only gonna last till SummerSlam because they're not gonna go the whole year with him as a heel. So I think that it is all signs point to it being over at SummerSlam. So then you have to ask the question: what had you with higher hopes? Moxley beating Bryan the way he did at Wrestle Dream, which I called one of like the one of the best endings to an AEW pay-per-view, with how much of a downer it was and how it set up different people to go after the Death Riders, or how high I was with the Cena original heel turn. And I was much higher on Cena's original heel turn than I was on Mox beating Bryan. So yes, it has to be Cena's heel turn is more disappointing, because that I had higher hopes for that than the Moxley title reign, because I always thought I knew how Moxley's title reign was going to end. It was going to end at the hands of Darby Allin. Now we veered course where I want anybody to end it, but I felt with Cena, it's just had higher hopes. I had higher hopes for that than the whole Moxley run.
No, and I agree with you on that, because again, the whole Cena thing, it was a big moment, right? It was everywhere. News outlets, fucking MLB was talking about it. How do you get MLB to talk about anything, right? It was a big moment, right? And then we kind of, again, it was one of those things where the fighters, like, we kind of had like this idea of what we kind of wanted. With Cena, we also had this idea of what we wanted, of like, oh, him and Dwayne gonna like run shit, right? We're gonna have a Hollywood duo, and then we got what we got. We got no Dwayne. He's been gone ever since. We got Cena, who's a heel, has the same character.
Yeah, and I don't know if I agree with this. Transferring Heat says big difference is the WWE crowd has been into it. No, they haven't. They've been cheering John Cena. Being into it means that they've been booing John Cena. They have not been booing John Cena. He gets cheered more often than not. He got Cody Rhodes, the biggest babyface in the company, booed because they want to cheer John Cena. That is not the WWE crowd being into it. That is them saying that, no, we like John Cena. We don't care that he turned heel. That's not being into it.
The difference is that the WWE crowd has been, I mean, they were cheering for him when he did that pipe bomb. They weren't supposed to cheer for him. They were supposed to boo him. So it's, I mean, I get it, but at the same time, it's like I don't get it. I don't understand this at all. I mean,
to be into it means that they are booing him. No, they don't boo him and then cheer him. They cheer him more often than not.
Yeah, I think it's one of those things where it's like, to me, I'm like, I get what you're trying to say, as in like, oh yeah, because the fans they're doing this. At the same time, it's like, it's not what you're supposed to be doing. It's like Seth Rollins, supposed to be a heel, supposed to be a massive heel. He comes out, people are singing his music, people are cheering him. Paul Heyman still gets booed, but yeah, it's like he lined up with Paul Heyman, and yet the man still gets cheered. People still sing his song. What the fuck are we doing? So it's one of those things where it's like, you can say the fans are into it, but that's not what it's supposed to be. Like, if you're a heel,
if you're doing a heel run for you to say the crowd is into it, that means the crowd is booing them, is booing the heel. That's into it.
Yeah, and
what if he's saying the big difference is that the crowd is reacting more to John Cena's heel turn than or John Moxley, then you have a point. But say that. Don't say the crowd is in. The crowd being into it means that they're into him being the heel. They're giving them what their objective is for the heel to be booed. They're not doing that.
Yeah, and I mean, I don't know. That was like kind of a weird thing. It's a weird argument, just because, again, that we got faces and heels. That's still a good argument to have. If a heel's getting cheered, then he's probably not doing what he's supposed to be doing. But I get it because with WWE, I mean, their fan base is already kind of weird, so that's even hard to even judge them because, again, even something that's basic in the ring, oh, this is awesome, this is awesome. It's a real hard to kind of judge that, like the crowd, because they get, they do feed into a lot, and it's just not really a normal thing that they do. I don't know. I just can't say that. Oh, people are more into it. It's just, again, with the whole Cena heel run, it's been more of a negative than a positive. Like, he's had his moments, like more lately, but it's one of those things where the overall picture of what we were supposed to get to what we got definitely is not the same level. Like, especially because the one was a big part of it, and then we haven't even had him, and then Cody try to use the soul shit. I'm like, bro, let it go. I was like, that's done and over with. Let it go. Like, that's the thing anymore. Like, and then, like you said, it's gonna end at SummerSlam. And
exactly. Then it's gonna be over in 4 months instead of just comparing it to Moxley's first 4 months. King of the North, don't lie on my name. Don't lie on my name on my own podcast. Don't do this. Don't do this, sir.
No, he did not say that.
Said the Cena turn was better than Hogan joining Hall and Nash. That's what I heard. You're a damn liar. You a motherfucker.
I was there for that episode. What are you talking about? I was there for that episode. That's a lie. That's a lie.
Nah, he King of the North loves trolling me. He loves trolling me. So I laugh it off. But yes, we'll see what happens with the Cena heel turn, but we'll see how it ends. In an interview with Shaq Wrestling, Hangman Adam Page talked about this whole journey heading into All in Texas and spoke about his return to the main event scene and becoming the promotion's main character again. On the most challenging part of his first world title run, he said, I felt that I had worked so hard for so long to win the world championship, and that is where my vision was. That's all I thought about. But I guess I probably did not take a lot of time in thinking what would happen the morning after, the week after, the month after. That is a different challenge. That's a different kind of drive. That a person would have to win something as opposed to hold it and keep it. I think that's maybe the main difference. And I feel that this time around in challenging for the world championship, I kind of understand that difference a bit more, having been there before. So should I win at All In? I've got maybe a different approach this time. On returning to the main event scene, he said, yeah, I did not expect to be in this position. As hard as I have tried for, I don't know. It's been 3 years, I guess, and I hadn't gotten here. This is our biggest show in the United States ever, in North American ever, and I'll be headlining it, and I intend to win the world championship at it. So that's the kind of thing I've tried to work towards for the past 3 years since I lost the championship. And to be honest, there's a lot of times where I kind of thought that was it for me, as far as these big opportunities, these big moments, and a lot of that boils down to me, who I was deciding to be, and that kind of attitude that I had did not lead me to these kind of opportunities, unfortunately. Well, maybe actually in this case, fortunately, because now I do have the chance, and in some weird way, all of that will have been worth it, I assume. On the current vibe of AEW, he says, it very much does feel like, for me personally, my experience week to week, a lot of the same kind of magic of those first few weeks and months of AEW TV. The sense of wanting to work together for a common goal, to make something good, exciting, new, fun, fresh. Yeah, the trajectory has felt upwards, and I'm just gracious to still be here and still be part of that. Very uplifting talk. Well, there's going to be more interviews that come out with Hangman Adam Page. I know he spoke to comicbook.com, as well as he spoke to Sports Illustrated, John Alba. So we'll have a lot more to talk about from Hangman Adam Page comments heading into All in Texas next week. As far as AEW with this current lawsuit that's going on involving Jon Moxley and the crew member, the AEW has filed a motion to move the lawsuit filed by a former crew member to federal court. As reported last month, Christopher Despensa filed a lawsuit against the company for negligence and civil assault and battery. Despensa, who did contract work with AEW through Broadcast Service Group, alleged that he suffered a severe neck and shoulder injuries when Jon Moxley shoved him to the ground on May 10, 2023 episode of AEW Dynamite during a steel cage matchup with Kenny Omega. Brandon Thurston reports that that AEW filed on Thursday to move the suit, which was filed in Michigan, to federal court. They cited diversity of citizenship, basically that the parties of the lawsuit are in different states, and that because there is a claim that of payment over $215,000, it is appropriate to move the suit to federal court. The requirement for such a case is to lien must exceed $75,000. Despensa alleges that the shove from Moxley was unscripted and that later needed several neck fusion surgery, shoulder surgery, and treatment for other injuries. So we will keep you updated on any news and notes in regards to this lawsuit that's going on with Jon Moxley and AEW in the weeks to come. And then finally, from AEW to finish it off, we had WrestleTix this week, had 2 updates on the ticket sales for All In Texas next Saturday. First, their first ticket sale report said that they were around 19,460 tickets out. There are still 3,660 tickets available for the amount allotted, as the current setup is for 23,120. The venue hosts 42,234, and the show is just 7 days away. This morning, WrestleTix put out an even further update, which exceeds over 20,000 tickets are out for All In Texas. So they have exceeded the 20,000 ticket mark. And in an interview with TMZ Sports, AEW president Tony Khan announced that the live gate for All In Texas is currently 2.5 million, and he expects this to go even higher. He said it's already one of the biggest gates in AEW history. We sold over $2.5 million in tickets. It's going to be over $3 million in tickets for the first time ever in the United States. We've never even done over 2 million before in the US. So we're hitting a bunch of cool milestones with this as a business. So good stuff as we head into All In Texas. So a really good time for AEW if you're interested in that. And oh man, this guy over here, King of the North again, said hashtag what is WrestleTix hiding? They're not hiding anymore. They put out the report for Evolution. The ticket sales are at 4,800 for Evolution next Sunday. This is not a good thing, guys. This is just going to be blamed on the women's, that the women's wrestling doesn't draw. I don't think this is the W that some people are making it out to be.
No, it's not, because the building itself is like 14K. And they only got, and then the capacity itself, they don't even have that many tickets available, and it's still not doing well. Like, it's not a good thing. And I don't know. Oh, when we get to it, we'll get to it, because I got some thoughts on that too. Because man, it's not looking good.
We got I May Beats, who says the Hanger story is one of the best in wrestling ever. The Hangman Redemption arc is one of the best stories of the year so far. That the Tony Storm and Mariah May storyline culminating. So yeah, AEW's got a couple of some of the best storylines going heading in to All In Texas as well. So good stuff there. We got we got King of the North, who says that was a spooky time. He says the building is 17K. Transferring Heat says Evolution WrestleTix number was not correct. It's closer to 11. That map didn't include the combo tickets.
And I don't think it's that.
I don't know about that.
Think it's that. I don't think it's 11K, because that's a big difference. Let's just be like, I don't know where that number came from. I don't know. That's definitely not close to that.
Where did you hear that from, Transferring Heat? And I'll tell you if I believe it or not. But I know from someone who works at WWE that they're not happy with the ticket sales for Evolution. That's one thing that I know for sure. And if it was at 11,000, I would think that they would be happy with that number instead of I could see if it's somewhere between 11 and 4,800. Then that makes sense why I'm hearing from people in WWE that they're not happy with the ticket sales. Body Slam. And we love Cassidy Hayes over here, but Body Slam, I can't say that's like, if it was Fightful, Wrestling Observer, I would be like, okay, I could believe that, but we'll see. We shall see. Here's an update. There we go. Michael Allen Lewis says WWE Evolution, Sunday, July 13, 2025, 6:30 p.m. He says the tickets left is 1,578. Available combo tickets 270. Current setup 6,652, and tickets distributed 4,804. So
I mean, because even the setup alone, the setup is it's a short number compared to what the building holds. Again, the timing of it, obviously that hurts it, because it's not enough time to really get that many people in the building. And then also other factors, like Beyonce concert that's in the same area. There's a lot of hotels that were already booked.
MLB All-Star Game is in the same area as well.
Yeah, so it's one of those things where I think they I don't know if they really did their homework or not. It doesn't seem like they did, but I think what they try to do is they try to bank on a big weekend. Hey, there's people who are going to be there, so they'll probably come to us too. And it's just, but then also you kind of oversaturated your market anyway, because you have Saturday night main event the night before. Great American Bash, I'm not going to even consider, because that's a smaller building. That's less than 1,000 people that's in that building. So that's a different kind of scenario. That's a different kind of thing. But when you're doing multiple shows, not only you're making people choose which ones to go to, but sometimes it's like, well, WWE is like, do I really want to go to another show again? I already went to this. I already got what I wanted. Do I really need to go to another show? You're hurting your market by doing that. And, by doing shit like that, 3 shows in one weekend, you're not heading the same way you guys were last year. So it's like they got to cut down on that shit, especially on something they didn't need to do. You didn't need to counter program All In. You didn't need to do that, because it was not going to hurt. It was not going to hurt All In that much. If All In has a gate that much, there was no point of doing that.
And as Josh was talking, to answer Transferring Heat, as Josh was talking, I went to Body Slam's Twitter and their Patreon, and it says nothing about Evolution. I think the 11,000 you're referring to is for Saturday night's main event.
It's probably Saturday night main event.
Saturday night's main event is moving it. It's getting close to 11,000, not Evolution. No one's disputed my WrestleTix report. Just letting you know. This is from Body Slam's Patreon as well as the Twitter page, and I checked a couple of people's accounts as well. Cassidy Hayes has something about Saturday night's main event being at 11,000, not Evolution. So I just wanted to double check that we're saying the right thing here. So hey, don't do that. Body Slam's got good people. They got good people. We got King of the North, who says the hard camera side was never put on sale. How are you going to tell me 11K?
Oh my god. Yeah. Yeah. Yo, he on something today, yo.
Yo, he on one today, right?
Yo, that was funny, yo. Yo, that was mad funny though. Yo, damn.
All right. Let's finish up the Converse this week. We had ROH TV on Honor Club. The show featured the Infantry picking up a win over the Top Flight to become the #1 contenders for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championship. In their matchup, they're going to be facing the Sons of Texas at Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor next Friday, which will give quick predictions for the top 4 matches that have already been announced. You also had Wheeler Yuta. He picked up a win over Alex Zane in singles action, while Serena D defeated Becca in a Pure Rules matchup on the show as well. But before we get into Supercard of Honor predictions, the last time we saw Danhausen was at Ring of Honor Final Battle, their last pay-per-view, but it seems that will be the last time we see him in any of Tony Khan's pay-per-views, as in a follow-up to some reports earlier in the year, it appears that both Private Party and Danhausen may be the next talents to swap AEW for WWE. Last month brought word from Fightful Select that the contracts of Mark Quinn, Isaiah Cassidy, and Danhausen were expiring soon, with those reports noting how WWE had preliminary interest in Private Party. In an update on this, Bodyslam.net reports that all 3 talents' AEW deals are up imminently, and WWE has major interest in the trio. Additionally, it said that the existing AEW deals of Chris Jericho, Renee Paquette, Matt Menard, and Angelo Parker are all up before the end of 2025, although there's no word on the future of those names at this time. To go back to Private Party, they've been with Tony Khan's promotion since its infancy, being immediately presented as the hottest young tag team in the company. However, it's been a somewhat start and stop time with AEW for Quinn and Cassidy, with the highlight being them defeating the Young Bucks last year for the AEW World Tag Team titles. Even then, though, they only had 2 successful title defenses at Full Gear and on Collision before losing the titles to Hurt Syndicate back in January of this year. For whatever reason, Private Party has not been seen on AEW TV since then. In the case of Danhausen, his most recent match under the AEW ROH banner was all the way back in February 2024 when he grabbed a win over Brandon Cutler on Ring of Honor. And when it comes to AEW, though, you have to go back to December of 2023 for his most recent contest, which was a battle royal during the World's End pre-show. The Very Nice, Very Evil Star did make an appearance at ROH Final Battle this past December, with many, including the man himself, under the impression this was the start of him being brought back into the fold on a more regular basis, only for it to bizarrely lead to, well, nothing. By all accounts, Danhausen and Private Party have been fit, ready, and healthy to go, but have simply not been used by AEW or ROH lately. To highlight that, Danhausen has only wrestled in 16 matches already wrestled in 16 matches for other promotions so far in this year alone. The most recent of which was for Green Mountain Wrestling in Vermont in May. For Private Party, they have not been quite as active as Danhausen, but they did have a matchup in House of Glory, the pair's home promotion, back in March. So once again, we're going to put a percentage on it. Josh, 0 to 100. Private Party going to WWE before the end of 2025, and 0 to 100 for Danhausen.
For Private Party, I'm gonna put it at 65%. Because there are things that I did hear about. Because I do know both guys. There's things that I did hear about, and it's a great possibility. With Danhausen, that was a little bit tricky. That one I'm gonna put like at 55. It's a strong 55 because, like, again, there's things that I did hear about when it comes to Danhausen. I just don't know if he's gonna make that commitment going to WWE just because of certain things.
Yeah, and congratulations to Danhausen. Him and his wife Hausen had a baby this week, so he's got to think about family and everything else. As far as my percentage for Private Party, I will put it at 75%. I think that they would fit in WWE and would have a spot probably on NXT to start, and then can move up periodically in a couple of years. For Danhausen, I can also see him on NXT. He would fit in with their current like storytelling and everything. So I'll put him at 60%. 60%.
Yeah, because with Danhausen, right? Because we know with Danhausen, obviously he's gonna be like a merch mover for them. They're gonna focus on that, and then maybe have some like comedy stuff. I think with NXT he could do that because NXT does do some like kind of goofy stuff sometimes. So he'll work on that. It's just more the main roster that you kind of know how Triple H feels about comedy gimmicks. He's not really into that. So that's where it will kind of fall apart for him. And the reason why that I'm like, I question it a little bit more with Danhausen because he does make a lot of money outside of, like, he doesn't really need WWE in a sense because he already makes a lot of money and he gets a bigger percentage of whatever merch they sell. When he does figures, he does all that stuff. They usually sell out a lot too. So he has more control of that. When he goes to WWE, you're gonna get a check, but obviously a bigger percentage. You're not gonna make that big percentage, but it's also a matter of the consumer, like amount of what you do, the quality of what you do. So it's one of those things where it's very tricky. So if he goes to WWE, obviously, I think it's more of a move of, like you said, putting his family first. If he decides to do that, and then also being committed to another contract. Do I see him being committed to another contract? That's yet to be seen. So, but Private Party, I do see them going to NXT just because people were saying TNA. I think TNA would kind of be a downgrade if they were to leave. I think NXT is it's a step up because you're already in WWE. You're a foot in the door. That's all you really need. So I think NXT would be the move for them.
100% agree. All right, let's give final predictions for Ring of Honor Supercard of Honor, which is next Friday. So it'll be after that will be before our flagship podcast next Saturday. So we're going to give our predictions for the top 4 matches that have been announced for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team Championships. The Sons of Texas return to Texas, Dustin Rhodes and Sammy Guevara, to verse the Infantry of Shane Taylor Promotions, the Captain Sean Dean and Carly Bravo. I would love to go for the Infantry because they made me a part of the set after watching me and Cresta Star talk about their incredible performance on Collision when they were betting money with Prince Nana in the blackest match ever again with Shane Taylor versus Swerve Strickland. But the Sons of Texas are in Texas, so they'll probably win. Who you got, Josh?
That's heard that you said before that. That's why I'm laughing.
Who you got, Josh?
I got Sammy and Dustin, unfortunately. But I hope the Infantry wins. I hope they do. I don't see it happening though.
Lee Moriarty will defend the ROH Pure Championship against the legend Blue Panther. I got Lee Moriarty retaining.
I got Moriarty retaining.
For the Ring of Honor World Women's Championship, you got Athena defending against Thunder Rosa. Texan versus Texan. I'm going to go with... this is tough. You know what? I'm going to go with Thunder Rosa, new champion.
Ooh. I'm going to stick with Athena just because I'm like, it hasn't happened yet. So it's like I can't bet against Athena yet. But Thunder Rosa, if you're watching this, I still love you. Please don't use that against me.
Then we got the main event for the Ring of Honor World Championship. Bandito will defend against Konosuke Takeshita. This has the opportunity to steal the whole weekend. Like, these two are just firing on all cylinders right now. Takeshita is one of the best wrestlers in the world, period. And Bandito has looked like one of the best wrestlers in the world since he went to Mexico. And he's been killing it on Dynamite the last 2 weeks as well. He was the best performer in that trios matchup we mentioned earlier. But I'm going to go, this is tough. I'm going to go with Bandito to retain?
I'm gonna go with Bandito. Konosuke could still win it. I know a lot of people were saying like, oh, because he's going to the G1. I mean, like, how many times you see the World title get defended on TV anyway? Like, he could take a hiatus and he could still be champion. He represents Ring of Honor over there. But I got Bandito winning because they have been doing more with Bandito, and then also the CMLL stuff has been like really positive for them as well. So Bandito, I think he's the safe bet right now.
Yeah, it looks like the chat agrees with us on that, except for our boy Power Driver Finisher, who says, Takeshita, please, maybe, I don't know, it's ROH. I want to be invested, but regardless who wins, ain't gonna change how it's overall built. I agree with that. They need to improve the booking, and Tony needs to give it to somebody else, honestly. Just do that.
Yeah. He does.
To finish off the Converse completely, we're going to go to AEW's new main partner, CMLL. They had last night their Viernes Espectacular for July 4th. The show featured the Beast Mortos, Arvino, and Ultimo Guerrero defeating Mascarada Dorada, Templario, Espionage in an awesome trios main event, with Beast Mortos picking up the victory. Post-match, Espionage challenged Mortos to a one-on-one matchup on next Friday's Arena Mexico show, so we'll see how that goes. We'll talk about that next week. Neon and Teton beat Angel de Aurora and Barrio Cavernario in a really good tag team matchup. And you also had Dark Silhouette picked up the win over Livenia to become the new CMLL Japan Women's Champion. They have so many different titles in this company. Like, if you go to Cage Match, it's like 27 different titles. Oh my God. I was like, they have way too many titles in this company.
Yeah, and then was it the tag team match where that fucking guy went flying and did that drop kick from the top rope? Oh
yes. Neon and Teton versus Cavernario and Angel. Yeah.
Yo, that was insane.
Everybody got hurt in that. Everybody got hurt.
I can tell.
But Arena Mexico did not have the only wrestling on last night, as not live, but SmackDown aired on USA Network and Netflix, for me in the UK at least, where we had the American Nightmare Cody Rhodes kicked off the show and talked about his undisputed WWE Championship matchup against John Cena at SummerSlam, until Randy Orton came out to interrupt. Orton made Cody promise him that he will not squander this opportunity and wants Cody to kick Cena's ass. Then Drew McIntyre returned to try to instigate some drama between Cody and Randy, only for Orton to deliver an RKO to McIntyre and then stare down with Cody a bit. Later in the show, McIntyre asked GM Nick Aldis for a match with Orton, which was set up for next Saturday night's main event. Tiffany Stratton came out to make her choice for the WWE Women's Championship matchup at Evolution 2, because yes, they are booking both main titles from the women's division as a Pokemon battle. You get a choice. I choose you. But she was interrupted by Queen of the Ring winner Jade Cargill. Stratton then introduced WWE Hall of Famer Trish Stratus, who she challenged to face her at Evolution, which Trish accepted. Later, Cargill was attacked backstage by Naomi with her new Money in the Bank briefcase covered in caution tape to set up a match between those two rivals at Evolution 2 as well. Charlotte Flair Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair picked up a win over Secret Hervis and the team of Michin and B-Fab to advance to the WWE Women's Tag Team Championship 4-way matchup at WWE Evolution. The Wyatt Six picked up a win in 8-man tag team action over Chris Sabin, Johnny Gargano, Berto, and Montez Ford in a decent 8-man tag, while also in the tag team division, the Lucha Cousins, Andrade and Ray Phoenix defeated Fraxium in another great matchup from Andrade and Ray Phoenix back-to-back weeks. And then finally, you had Jacob Fatu and Jimmy Uso beat Solo Sikoa and JC Mateo in a solid main event. Post-match, Fatu continued to attack Solo by putting him on the commentary table and was about to deliver a big splash when Tala Tonga showed up to protect Sikoa, and the new Bloodline family beat down Fatu and Uso, ending with Jacob being driven through a table with a triple powerbomb. What did you think about SmackDown last night? I will say, man, I say this about AEW Collision, where their weaker episodes are the ones that are pre-taped. WWE is no different. The pre-tape shows, it's quite obvious it's pre-taped. It's like there's a distinct lack of energy from a pre-tape show, either from the crowd or the performers, and you felt it on this episode, even though this episode was 10 times better than the usual SmackDown because it was our first one that was 2 hours in months.
Yeah, because the crowd was at, and it was a crowd from Monday, right? It was the same crowd from Monday. But I maybe they were out of it. They already had like 2.5 hours of show. So, but because that tag team match was great, the Fraxium and that was a great fucking match. And I was like, come on, guys, you're getting a great match, and you kind of dead right now. All right, fuck y'all then. And it was a good match. Like I said, it was a great match. And then I mean, everything else was like, the Cody and the Orton stuff was okay. Didn't really move me. Seeing Drew back was cool. I'm like, I'm happy he's back. You know. But besides that, what threw me off was the Trish stuff, because you know I absolutely love Trish Stratus, right? You know, she's the top 3 in my women's list, you know. But why did that happen? Like why did that not only segment happen? But it just kind of felt weird, where it was just like she did like an open challenge thing, and then she chooses Trish Stratus, and you had Jay that just won, and then I don't know. I thought it was weird as fuck. Yeah.
That segment was awful. It was really bad. It felt awkward, and those women had no energy involved in that segment. The only segments that got me like at least like, okay, this was good, was Drew being back. I love Drew. I love the new t-shirt. I'm bored at work. Great stuff. Like that was cool, but and like you said, the Lucha Cousins versus Fraxium was awesome. They like Andrade and Ray Phoenix, they really feel like motivated together. It does make me question, like, why isn't Ray Phoenix just teaming with Penta then? But I mean, Penta's doing well on his own, so I understand if they want to keep him on his own for now. But he's just wrestling tag team matches anyway. But you know, that's besides the point. That's besides the point. I like the fact that Andrade and Ray Phoenix are having great matches, and Fraxium having another great match once again. Which they just, if you let them wrestle, they'll have a great match. Why are we have Fraxium on our show and not letting them wrestle for like a month or so? I don't understand, because Fraxium was the best tag team in pro wrestling last year. Just let them wrestle.
Yeah, and only because I kind of, you know, the nitpick I do have when it comes to like Phoenix and Andrade, it's not the guys themselves, it's how like it was put in together. But then also like a couple of months ago, they did tease Penta and Phoenix. Like they did a segment where Penta mentions that Phoenix is his brother, and they're talking about forming the team again or some shit. So that's why I was like, all right, like that's a little strange. And then they kind of got away from that. Maybe they're using this as maybe there might be a kind of a storyline where, you know, they kind of get back to because of the Andrade thing. I don't know. I thought that was a little weird, but to credit, both times that they've worked together, it's been good. That's a positive, and that they've had really good tag matches. You know, so you know we'll see where it goes from there. But that'd be kind of funny that Phoenix wins the tag team title. Man, it was Andrade. It's like, damn, you went with Andrade first before your own brother. That's a choice. That's a choice by WWE.
It's interesting. It's interesting. Yeah, Parjay finishes saying promos are formulaic with Trish. I don't hate on her because it's Trish, and I don't see Trish as this whole promo person. She was the best promo out of the three people that were in the ring because Tiffany Stratton is very one note, and they won't let Jade Cargill cut the promos that she's good at.
Yeah, she can't say cut the shit on TV. So
can't say cut the shit, can't say that bitch. So
yeah, and then also Trish, I think it's one of those things where I don't think Trish is the worst on the mic. I just think that sometimes where she talks, it's just like, sis, what are you talking about? I think that's where she kind of falls apart. Because remember when she came back as a heel, her first promo, her delivery was good, but it was what she was saying that was dumb. Like,
yeah. I agree with Davion, who says them SmackDown tag team division backstage promos are starting to get cringy. Not starting to get cringy, they are cringy because no one's that good at it's just DIY trying to hold up a whole bunch of people who ain't really good at these backstage segments. But a new report talking about, speaking of the whole Trish and Tiffy and Jade Cargill thing, a new report had some backstage details in regards to how WWE has been handling the creative and booking for WWE Evolution. According to Fightful Select, WWE has contacted a number of legends in addition to the spoiler talent who appeared at the SmackDown tapings to set up a match at Evolution. The report notes that people in WWE sent inquiries to legends and had been going over the last several weeks, and that some of the creative and talks for appearances came down to the wire. As has been previously reported, Liv Morgan's shoulder injury caused some heavy creative shifts for the pay-per-view, which takes place on July 13th and airs live on Peacock and the WWE Network. Fightful Select had previously reported that WWE talent are reportedly unhappy with how Evolution has come together. Talent are reportedly feeling set up that the show has been put on all-in weekend while also competing with a Beyonce concert across the street from the venue, as well as the MLB All-Star game, which is about 20 minutes from the building as well. There's also been reports in regards to the legends that might be showing up at Evolution. There was an update on Nikki Bella's status with WWE heading into Evolution, as she appeared on the June 9th edition of WWE Raw and set up a matchup of some kind with Liv Morgan. The Wrestling Observer newsletter reports that Nikki Bella is still scheduled to appear at Evolution. She was supposed to appear on the June 16th edition of WWE Raw for an angle with Liv Morgan, costing her a matchup with Kairi Sane, but Morgan was injured at the start of the matchup and Bella didn't appear, but she is still on for the WWE Evolution show. So my question to you is the question that we put in the headline for this podcast. Josh, and all the people in the chat can answer this question as well. Does WWE even care about Evolution 2? And how can they change it around a bit with the card now basically announced between Raw, NXT, and SmackDown? We have 7 matches on the docket for Evolution. It's going to be Rhea Ripley versus Io Sky for the WWE Women's World Championship, Trish Stratus versus Tiffany Stratton for the WWE Women's Championship. You got the four-way for the WWE Women's Tag Team titles with Roxanne and Raquel defending against Charlotte, Alexa, and a team from Raw and a team from NXT. You got the Battle Royal to determine who gets a shot at the world title at Clash in Paris. You got the NXT Women's Championship on the line, as it's going to be JC Jane versus Jordan Grace. You got Jade Cargill versus Naomi one-on-one. And then what many people assume we're going to get is the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship matchup with Becky Lynch, Lyra Valkyria, and Bayley.
To answer your first question, no. I don't think they cared that much. Just because of the circumstances, right? This wasn't really planned until they decided to kind of program All In. And I still stand by that. The timing of it, the timing of it, everything that's transpired in regards to like the build up and everything, because almost like a week ago or like 2 weeks ago, it was kind of like, guys, don't we have a show coming up and you have no matches announced? Like, what's going on? Like, what are we getting? So you kind of already hurt the perception off of that. Like when we're kind of like close, and then it's like, okay, what we're getting. But again, a lot of circumstances behind it. As far as what they could do, I mean, you have Raw and SmackDown. You can even say NXT because there are going to be NXT. So basically 3 episodes leading up to Evolution on Sunday. I really don't know what you could really do at this point, just because you really got your matches set up. Rhea and Io, I think that's going to be a banger. At least you have that. Trish and Tiffany could be good depending on what version of Trish you get. But my thing is more of like, with Trish Stratus, why is she the one getting the World Championship match? Even if Tiffany is winning, right? And to me, that's not the problem. It's more of, okay, you could have used somebody else. That's just my opinion on that, right? Obviously the Cargill thing I think is going to happen in probably SummerSlam. So I'm not too worried about that. That's probably going to happen at SummerSlam because I think her and Naomi still has
Jade, that's already been announced that Jade's getting the shot at the WWE Women's Championship. Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's a probably more prominent spot for her. At least you're not kind of, you're not setting herself up for failure when it comes to that. And I know, her and Naomi have been doing good stuff.
I mean, if it's Jade Cargill versus Tiffany Stratton, you are setting her up for failure.
No, I mean, as in, like, if you were to put that for Evolution, that's a worse spot compared to like some.
No, it's not. That's in our hometown. I think that's a better spot.
I mean, as in because of the ticket sales. So it's like, yeah,
okay, yeah.
That's why it's like, if they were doing better sales, yeah, but it's like, the show's already, people are not happy about it. Talent are unhappy. You're not doing well in ticket sales. So I think it would have been like a worse spot. At least SummerSlam, bigger crowd, bigger moment, 2-night SummerSlam. You could kind of get away with that. But I don't know. It's just one of those things where, again, this shit was so fucking thrown in together. You're not really giving the women the chance to, it's one, again, I hope it's a good show. I think it's gonna end up being like a decent show. I think the women will do fine because I know like what they're capable of. It's just a matter of the way that it came together, so thrown in last minute, and because it's not doing well, you're kind of, the company they're gonna see it as, oh, you see, this is why we don't do this show, because it didn't sell very well. Because the first Evolution show, it was a great show, but they didn't sell out. That's why they never went back to it. They still did over 10K people, by the way, for that show. It wasn't a sellout, but they still did over 10,000 people in fucking Long Island. So you know, and the fact that you're in Atlanta does have a good market, and you're doing less, and it's one of those things where I think the perception of women's wrestling of, oh, it can't sell, I think you're kind of doing an injustice on that aspect, because you didn't really give a chance for the women to showcase and to build up and to have a nice lead in. It sucks. It sucks all around for the women. I feel bad more for them. Fuck management.
So frustrating. So frustrating. Chuck Berries with a super chat donation. Thank you so much, Chuck Berries, for the support. He says SmackDown's women's division has become kind of stale, in my opinion. I can't wait for Bianca Belair to come back. She's been a real big missing factor for the SmackDown women's division, especially for the Jade Cargill and Naomi storyline. As far as answering the question, does WWE care about Evolution 2? From how lack of creative we've seen with the setup for the matches, like Io and Rhea was Io picking Rhea after they had been feuding and been fierce rivals heading into WrestleMania, after Io has beaten Rhea 5 times and had every other reason to pick someone else like Asuka or Kairi, saying, yes, she picked Rhea Ripley because that's the big star of the division more than anything. And that just lacked creative, and it was very lazy setup for that. The women's 4-way matchup, that just felt like, oh, you need a 4-way to get more women on the card, similar to the Battle Royal. Like our producer said before we went live here, you had two white men announcing a women's Battle Royal. Equality. Then you also you got the whole setup for you had NXT have the first match announced on Evolution, yet they have a whole show before then that they didn't start booking this week, and we're getting a preliminary tag team matchup on that. So that just feels convoluted in itself. The whole setup for Trish and Tiffy, it just lacked any type of motivation or energy or just any of the charisma that any of the women have to set that up. Yeah, and our producer asking, is this Io's only defense since WrestleMania? It's her first title defense since WrestleMania, and it just got announced on a whimper, basically. And that just lacked energy. The Naomi and Jade Cargill is just a matchup for Jade to be wrestling in her hometown. It didn't even feel like they properly set that up either. So it's just like yeah, this is the biggest here nigga damn pay-per-view of all time. This is like you wanted it, you can have it. We're gonna have it go head to head with All In Weekend, and we're gonna have it go head to head with a Beyonce concert. We're gonna have it go head to head with a Love Island USA finale. We're gonna have it go head to head with the MLB All-Star Game. Like, you have basically set these women up to fail, and we all know the WWE Women's Division is top to bottom talent wise one of the best, but the booking has just been so lackluster. It has been so lackluster. It's been lacking of care and effort that it just feels like we are in this middle ground of, we know the talent is there, but the creative has not been there. And I know for a fact that Evolution in ring wise will be a great pay-per-view, but they have gave you no reason to care about it because they don't care about it.
Yeah, you know, and to your point, when it comes to like when you said like this is the biggest here damn pay-per-view, there's a lot of people even in media that said the same thing. Like, you know, SRS said the same thing on his show, where he was like, that's how he felt too, and you know, and that's how it comes off, you know. And he was the one that made the good points about when I was telling you about the Beyonce concert and stuff, because somebody did bring that up, and they're like, oh, you know, how would this affect? Because, you know, it's two different demographics, right? Like, it's two different things. But then he did explain, like, it's the traveling. It's, you know, people already have their hotels booked and all that stuff. Like, he's like, and it's a busy area. So he's like, it doesn't really do them any favors when it comes to that. And you kind of do see that, the reflection of how that show has been ticket wise. You know, but there was a lot of good points that you made, man. Like, really, you know, it's, you know, like, when people say like how, WWE has the best women's divisions in the world, for me, when you say the women's the best division in the world, I think I always try to look at the overall aspect. I think on paper, the amount of talent they do have, yes, right? Like on paper, they do have the best.
That's why I said talent-wise, they have one of the best.
Right? And that's why you made a good point when it comes to that, because I think on paper they do. It's just a matter of when they go out there, it's like, it's not the same. It ain't hitting the same when you book the way that you've been booking, and that's why it's very unfortunate, because we know a lot of these women, you get an opportunity, they could perform their asses off, but then when you're not really giving them opportunities, it's just one of those things where it's like, what the fuck? It's like Io, right? For example, the one thing I said about Io is that I wanted to see if the company was committed of her, of like, all right, this is going to be her next biggest thing, that, all right, now she's going to be the star. And this is her first defense since WrestleMania. Pretty July. We had WrestleMania in April. That's crazy to me. Like, that's insane. And then you're probably going to have her lose.
She's one of the best wrestlers, period, in your entire company, and you haven't
been
letting her wrestle.
She's one of the best in the business, men or women. And then you have her only defend the title once. Like, then not only that sounds insane, but now it feels like, all right, you're putting Rhea, which that tells me that Rhea's probably going to win, because you guys been selling this. Oh, Rhea hasn't been beaten Io. Rhea hasn't been Io. And then you're going to put the belt back on Rhea. That just tells me that's transitional as fuck. And that sucks for Io, because it's like she deserves way more. And yes, I think when it comes to the WWE lore of like fans, where they see like, oh, well, Io's the champion, she's been this, and it's just like, no, it's a matter of what the fuck they do with the champions. That's what should matter more. And it's like, yeah, she's been champion for a while, but it's like it matters what you do within the reign. If you're telling me, oh, this person has two, she has what? This is gonna be her second title defense or third within her reign since she won it this year. That's insane. That's kind of crazy to me.
She won it in March.
She won it. You see, that's even worse to me. Where it's like, you see, somebody like her should be active. Somebody should, and it's just one of those things where shit like this is like, oh fuck. And I love Rhea. Don't get me wrong. Like I've grown to like Rhea. I'm still not calling her mommy. She ain't my damn mommy.
But it is pretty obvious that Rhea's going to win this title.
Yeah, and I mean, and that's very unfortunate, because now Rhea's going to have that moniker where people already saying Becky Hogan, Mercedes Hogan. What are they going to say about Rhea?
They were saying Rhea Hogan. They were saying Rhea Hogan when she won back the title from Liv.
Yeah, and it's like, it's got to happen again. And it's very unfortunate, because it's not like it's her fault. It's like, that's not her fault. It's not on her. It's not on the women. It's just shit like that. I think that's the frustrating part about certain things, man. Whereas like, we love Io, she deserves more, and I think it's one of those things where I don't want to hear like, oh yeah, well, she was champion. It's a matter of what you do, and I'm like, you can't tell me this was a great reign for her. I can't sit there and really say, oh yeah, this has been a great title reign. Again, that opening match for WrestleMania, all-timer. That was a fantastic match. All those women killed it. I will never take that away from them, but it's a matter of what you do with the championship. It just sucks. Like a situation like this sucks. We're not even talking about the rest of the matches, because like you said, that has their flaws too, like how it was built up, and it's just very unfortunate for the women.
Yeah. Michael Allen Lewis with a super chat donation. Thank you so much once again, Michael, for the support. He says, unfortunate, but using Evolution as a counter-programming stunt instead of a big revolutionary event shows what they think of the women. That's a strong point. It is a strong point that they used it as a counter-programming stunt instead of like just big this should have been the women's wrestling version of a WrestleMania. That's what the first Evolution, for better or worse, it felt like we were giving the women something, because they were denied the fact of them going to Saudi Arabia because of the Saudi Arabia government. So WWE said, you know what, since you're not going to be able to be on this show, we're going to give you your own show to be a showcase for women and how far you've come. Despite my issues with how that show was built to in 2018, it exceeds what WWE has done with the build to this second one.
No, it does, and I've been saying it too. I was just like, damn, I think that first evolution, the build-up wise, and how things have been going, it's definitely better. It's just, again, it's one of those things where it's like, oh, like, especially when you kind of program like the way that it's kind of crazy because All In, right? I think All In is shaping up for AEW to be like their WrestleMania because of the amount of crowds that they've been using, right? So the fact that you put that against All In, that's already a setup for failure to begin with. Because it's just like, why are you doing that? Like, why was that a thing? You know, it's weird. It's a weird kind of thing. And fans who believe that is not counter programming, you guys need to go get checked to go to the hospital right now to get checked, because everyone knows that's what that shit was. You don't book 3 different shows on that weekend to say any otherwise. Like, and then again, we want to talk about Evolution. I mean, Great American Bash was also on that same moniker where it was like, okay, guys, 10 days away from the show, and what are we getting?
In 2 months, they have done Worlds Collide, Money in the Bank, Night of Champions. No. Oh yeah. I'll go even further back. In about nine and a half weeks, they've done Saturday Night's Main Event, Battleground, Worlds Collide, Money in the Bank, Night of Champions. They're gonna do Great American Bash, Saturday Night's Main Event, Evolution. Then they're gonna do 3 weeks after that, 2-night SummerSlam. 10 shows in just over 2 months.
That's a lot. That's, oh God, that's too much. It's too much.
It's insane. It's hindered the storytelling, and I feel like Evolution is like the biggest kind of victim of this oversaturation of WWE.
Yeah, you put them in by far the worst spot. By far the worst spot, because at least with Money in the Bank was a sellout. They sold out Money in the Bank at least, and because they had the 2 shows, but then I think that was kind of just not smart doing in California, just because I'm like, all them people showed up late, so it looked bad visually, and there was a women's match in the opening match too. Like, I just noticed that too. So it was like, what the fuck? Yo, you see what I mean? Like, you see what I mean by that? It's like, come on, like, what are you doing to them? Like, what are you doing to them?
Says WWE been cold all year. Then Triple H wants to strut out with his big nose after Elimination Chamber, talking about, does it feel like we're on the road to WrestleMania now? Like, bro, shut up. I felt that. We got a super chat donation here from Vala. Thank you so much, Vala, once again for the support. He says, here damn show getting here damn booking. Very much so. Very much so. They should have changed it to WWE here damn. They should have went the full mountain with it. Just call it what it is. Call it what it is. Here damn. Here you go. Ah, man, it's frustrating. And Kingdom of North makes a good point. He says he saw all this coming because of the past instances of all women shows in America. Shimmer closing down. Maria Kanellis promotion never took off. NWA show did no buys. He says the support for all women shows is purely online for people who don't spend money, sadly. He says, where's all the mainstream media coverage of Stardom, TJPW, CMLL, all women shows, etc.? I mean, I try my best now that I'm on a mainstream media coverage, and Lyrics also on Sports Illustrated as well. We try to cover like Stardom and places that aren't usually covered by Sports Illustrated, but you're absolutely right. It needs to be across the board for all women's promotions and all women shows in America should be getting more promotion. But WWE is not going to do this with Evolution. WWE doesn't even reach out to Sports Illustrated too much about interviews to help promote Evolution if the ticket sales are not going well. They think they are so above everybody else and they could just ride off on the WWE name at this point.
Yeah, and I think that's what they were trying to do too. I think WWE is their like you said, when we were talking about like, hey, if WWE starts like falling apart, it's gonna be their own doing. And this is kind of what we've been seeing. It's been like WWE's own doing on a lot, because I think what it is like WWE, I think sometimes they kind of feel like they're probably bigger than what they really think it is. You know what I mean? Like within like the wrestling industry or like pop culture in general, where they think it kind of feels like they try to leech on to certain things where it's like, oh, you see, look, our belt is on this person. It's because it's like, no, because you fucking gave it to them. So like you're trying to use that as promotion. You're trying to use that as like as a W. But it's like, guys, like realistically, a lot of people are not wrestling fans, and you're trying to expand to a market that people just don't fuck with wrestling. You know, so I think sometimes they're a victim on their own thing. Like they think that they're a lot bigger. Obviously, business-wise, you can't argue that. Business-wise, they make great money. But as far as when it comes to like, you know, when it comes to like pop culture, when it comes to stuff like that, they try to leech on to shit like that. So they think they're bigger than what they really are. And it's just like, no, guys, like you gotta just focus on what you can really do, because you do make great money. Not everybody's a wrestling fan, and you're trying to make WWE more than just wrestling. At the end of the day, when people are going to their shows, they're paying for a wrestling show. They're not paying for anything else. They're paying for a wrestling show.
Yeah. Sad. It's sad. And what are we doing? What are we doing? Why are we doing this to them? Why are you doing this to them? We got Power Driver finish. Transferring Heat. I think he's talking about the Evolution sales again. He says, I'm still seeing Corey Haynes and Mass J saying that that map doesn't include comps is being talked about on Twitter right now. So I'll wait until the show gets closer. Even with comps, it's not 11,000 transferring Heat. How do we go from 4,800? They gave out 7,000 comps.
I mean, you give me 7,000 comps, you might as well just not do the show.
Just don't do the show. You're giving out more comps than actual tickets sold? Then no, don't do the show. Don't do the show.
That don't make no damn sense. I think Transfer Heat is just trying to transfer a win, and it's not working.
That's outrageous. That's outrageous. How we going from? Oh, you know, this the Brian Windhorse shit. It's the Brian Windhorse shit. You know, it doesn't. It's a conspiracy against evolution. WWE is coming off a huge trip to Saudi Arabia with their recent Night of Champions show, but that was the only show in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia this year. Fightful Select has an update on WWE's future plans in the country. Fightful spoke to sources who were said to have been instrumental in putting Night of Champions Riyadh together, and regarding WWE's future events in the country. WWE is holding only one event in Saudi Arabia this year due to a very busy schedule, including big events overseas. WWE's next premium live event in Saudi Arabia will be the 2026 Royal Rumble, which will take place in January 2026. Fightful notes that work will begin on putting together the Royal Rumble 2026 in the next few weeks. That leaves two more WWE premium live events in Saudi Arabia next year, which are yet to be named or announced events. Fightful reports that WWE is planning to hold two other PLEs in Saudi Arabia in May 2026 and November 2026. The November one is interesting because of the time periods per proximity to Survivor Series, which is usually held close to or around Thanksgiving weekend. This year's WWE Survivor Series will take take place on Saturday, November 29th. One WWE source reportedly informed Fightful that the November show in Saudi Arabia will not be Survivor Series, or if it will be, Survivor Series will move away from Thanksgiving weekend because they can't see WWE sending talent on an overseas tour to Saudi Arabia during Thanksgiving weekend. WWE has yet to not yet announced the other Saudi Arabia dates yet. The venue and exact date for Royal Rumble 2026 in Riyadh have also not been revealed as of yet, so we shall see. We shall see. I mean, what can go wrong? I mean, they already had, you know, some stuff that could have gone wrong this year, and they still went. So they'll be doing more stuff. There'll be a WrestleMania in Saudi Arabia, I believe, one day. Do you believe
one day? Yeah, especially the amount of money they're willing to put in, and they could do it. They're able to do it. Absolutely, because again, it's TKO running things. The TKO's gonna try to get the top dollar. That's why they went out. That's why they pulled it from New Orleans and went back to Vegas. Vegas was willing to post up that fee again. They're gonna end up doing one.
It was previously reported that Cody Rhodes was rumored for the next Street Fighter movie and reboot. That news has apparently been confirmed. Deadline confirms that Cody Rhodes has been casted as Guile in the upcoming Street Fighter reboot movie, joining fellow WWE superstar Roman Reigns, who plays Akuma. The rest of the cast includes Noah Centineo as Ken, Andrew Koji as Ryu, Jason Momoa as Blanca. You got 50 Cent playing Balrog. You got Kalena Lang as Chung Lee. You got Andrew Schultz as Dan and Becky. I'm sorry, I'm laughing at these names that are in here. Oval Peck as Vega, and David Masheris as M. Bison. It will be directed by Kaito Sakura from a script by Dallin Musin. What do you think about the cast so far for the upcoming Street Fighter movie? And what do you think about Cody getting this big role coming off the heels of him being in the upcoming Naked Gun movie?
The casting has been weird as fuck for the most part. It's just like the random names. They're not random names, but I'm just like, when I'm seeing the casting, I'm just like, like, you sure that person could be that person? Like the 50 Cent one was pretty funny. 50 Cent is not the worst one because I think 50 has gotten his range. I think he's not the worst actor because I thought he did some good stuff with his stuff, like Power, like, you know, so he's not the worst. It was just like kind of random. I was like, 50 Cent, what the fuck? And then Andrew Schultz was probably like the one I was like, what are we doing? I was like, I think I threw the white flag when I heard that. I was like, what? The M. Bison one was kind of strange too because I know the actor. He's been in a few movies himself. He's been in a Suicide Squad. He's been in Ant-Man. He's like one of the friends from Ant-Man. He's been in the Dark Knight. I think the Dark Knight. He was one of the guys that Batman interrogated. So he's done like some significant roles, but it's just M. Bison. I'm like, is he M. Bison? Like, is that really a good choice for him? I think Roman Reigns as Akuma. I think he'll look badass as Akuma. He kind of does look, and he has already the thing already. So I think it's a fine choice, but it's a matter of his acting range. Like, we haven't seen Roman have his range yet. This is his first opportunity. So that'll be interesting. As far as Cody being Guile, I mean, it's kind of funny because it kind of already matches American Nightmare. Guile's American. At least you got an American actor when it comes to that. He kind of does look like Guile, but, you know, obviously Guile's overly built. A lot of like the characters in Street Fighter are overly built. I think it's a fine choice, but obviously I'm still skeptical because it seems like a random choice of characters. It seems like a random choice of casting, but it makes it interesting because it's like, this is either going to be Not a great movie, but entertaining, or it's gonna be a really shit show. So you never know.
Yeah. We got Senior Nerd who says Cody is definitely not winning at SummerSlam, huh? He's in the Street Fighter movie as Gao. He'll be away for at least 2 months. He literally just got casted for a Senior Nerd, so it's probably not filming till next year.
Yeah, and I don't think it's gonna really affect him because you know, you have John Cena. John Cena's gonna be away for a while after July. He's not really doing a lot of shows, so he's gonna be away, and then. You know, I don't think it's going to really affect Cody in that aspect, the filming, because knowing Cody, he's going to be a nut job. Oh, I could pop. But then also, there were periods of times where Cody was just showing up, not really defending the title until the PLEs. So in that aspect, you could kind of pull it off. Roman Reigns, he was champion, and how many times he disappeared, and he was still champion. I think they'll be fine in that. They'll be fine in that aspect.
Yeah, and Liv Morgan just filmed the movie. She was away for a month.
Yeah, so I mean, they'll be fine. I think they'll be fine.
Cardi saying I thought they started filming in August. Even if it does, he's just gonna be away for a month. He's not gonna be gone that long. It's not gonna be that long. And yeah, we should shout out Jordan Grace just got announced for her own movie role. That was announced this morning by Variety. Let me get that information up here. I think I got it. I think it somewhere here. I think it's Welcome to Paradise, I think is the name of the movie, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, it was announced by Variety this morning. I'm looking it up so I can get the information here, say it correctly. Yeah, she's been casted for the movie Welcome to Paradise, which is her film debut. That film, it was announced by Variety, and it also stars, it's directed by independent wrestler Charles Crawley, and stars Bill Nine and Matthew Horn. So it's a movie that follows a woman finding herself in a magical carnival with no memory of anything but her own name.
That's a movie choice for sure. What the fuck? yo, that was random.
In an interview with Page 6, John Cena confirms recent rumors that said his final match will take place in mid-December. However, he noted that a location has not been decided at this time. He said, well, I don't want to downplay the action in WWE. There's always a bunch of action over there. And yes, I'm 48. My last match will be in mid-December. We're still trying to find out a place to do it. But I said 36 dates in January, and we're halfway through. Gosh, it's been a lot of compelling TV, and I don't want to spoil it for anybody, but I think we're just getting started. So we'll keep you updated on when John Cena's final match will be, but he's not the only person who's going to be possibly getting into action in WWE from that has some type of celebrity, as Grammy award-winning hip-hop star Jelly Roll is going to make his WWE TV return on next week's edition of Friday Night SmackDown on July 11th. According to a report by WrestleVotes, it looks like this will be the start of an extended storyline for Jelly Roll in WWE. Per the report, several within WWE expect Jelly Roll's upcoming appearance on SmackDown to be the start of something more. Additionally, WrestleVotes notes that there's anticipation within WWE that Jelly Roll will be making additional appearances in the near future. It should also be noted that the artist is currently on a musical tour, and he'll be taking the first weekend off of August, which also coincides with WWE SummerSlam 2025. SummerSlam is scheduled for August 2nd and 3rd at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. The music artist previously made a popular appearance at SummerSlam 2024, taking part in a segment with Awesome Truth and A-Town Down Under, which culminated in Jelly Roll hitting Austin Theory with a chokeslam. During a later interview, he referred to it as his coolest moment of the year. You excited? Jelly Roll.
How many times we got to see this fucking guy? I'm like sick of looking at him. It's like every few months we have Jelly Roll. I don't give a fuck at this point. I'm sick of looking at him. He could be a nice guy. I'm tired of it. Like,
Okay,
bro,
you can only choose one: Jelly Roll or Travis Scott in a WWE ring.
Jelly Roll. There you go. That was a good question. That was a good question.
Yeah.
You got me on that. You got me on that. So, yeah, you got me on that. I'll take the L on that. Once you said Travis Scott, I say, yeah, I know where this is going.
Seeing Ron Killings in that, I'm just like, I remember when R-Truth was the most popular star in this company. That lasted like a week.
Yeah. Oh my god.
They're not even calling him Ron Killings anymore. They're just calling him R-Truth.
You know, it's funny. We kind of did predict that, and I think even Top Guy was just like, I'll give it like a week and a half. So I'll give credit to Top Guy because he sold the bullshit for us.
Yeah. God damn it. We got a super chat donation here from our good brother Vala. Thank you so much, Vala, for the support. He says, Jelly Roll, and we thought the guest host era was the worst. We got celebs getting wrestling pushes. Bad Bunny, Bad Bunny should never have been as good as he was. It just set all these other musical artists to come in and get massive pushes.
Yeah, I mean to Bad Bunny and Jelly Roll's credit, I know I was talking shit about Jelly Roll. He is a legit fan, at least. Like, he seems like he really enjoys it. Everybody else just kind of seems like, all right, let me get a paycheck, and that's why for me it's kind of a turnoff. Like Travis Scott, I don't doubt that he's a fan. I just don't see that enthusiasm from him. I see it more from like Bad Bunny. Like Bad Bunny, he's a legit fan. I just don't see it from Travis Scott because he's too busy smoking weed a lot.
Yeah. Fiend. That
fucking song.
Thank you so much, Vala. Since we hit our super chat goal, we'll be doing a Q&A in 2 weeks' time. So that will be the post all-in edition of the flagship podcast. We'll probably do a post show with some Q&A where you guys can ask any questions that you like. That will be available for members of the channel. So hit the join button and become a member. But thank you so much for all the super chat donations, and keep it coming if you want your comment highlighted on screen, because we got to get to WWE Raw this week. The show last week did 2.6 million viewers. The show this week featured Rhea Ripley kicking off the show to see what's next for her until Io Sky came out to announce that she gets to pick her opponent for WWE Evolution, and she's choosing Rhea Ripley for the upcoming PLE. The Judgment Day's Finn Balor and JD McDonough defeated the New Day in a damn good tag team opener to win the World Tag Team Championships. After the match, Balor and McDonough suggested Roxanne Perez replace Liv Morgan as WWE Women's Tag Team Champions, which Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce accepted if they can prove themselves by facing a team from Raw, SmackDown, and NXT in a 4-way for the titles at Evolution. Later, the Judgment Day finally voted for Perez to officially become a member of the group. Rusev beat Sheamus in a straight up banger that had to be Rusev's best match in wrestling since 2021. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria went to a double pinfall draw in a solid matchup to determine the number one contender for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. Gunther came out to address Goldberg, saying that he plans to expose the WWE Hall of Famer at Saturday night's main event. He was interrupted by Seth freaking Rollins. Rollins teased cashing in the Money in the Bank until CM Punk came out to get a bit of revenge for WWE Night of Champions. Rollins bailed through the crowd where he was attacked by LA Knight to set up a singles meeting for Saturday night's main event. Meanwhile, CM Punk pushed down Gunther after the ring general pulled him by the arm, and this seemed to set up a rivalry there as well. And then later you had Seth's stablemates, the Braun Stars, Braun Breaker and Bronson Reed, defeated Sami Zayn and Penta in a very good tag team main event. Post-match, the Braun Stars attacked Sami and Penta until Jey Uso came out to make the save to a huge pop to close the show. Any thoughts on Raw this week? I ranted enough on Rated Raw Review about Triple H doesn't like black people. That's why the New Day's heel run was as badly booked as anything Triple H has done this year. Yes, even worse than John Cena's heel turn. The New Day's heel turn was booked tremendously and egregiously horrible, to the point that I'm convinced that Triple H meant when he said, I don't see color. I don't see these niggas. I don't want to see these niggas. That's what he really meant to say. But
yeah, to me, when in regards to like the New Day stuff, yeah, when I heard they lost, because for one, I thought Raw was gonna start at 8, so I was on my way home when Raw started, and when I heard that they lost, I was like, wait a minute, Raw's right now, and then when I saw that they lost, I was like, oh boy, I already see the reaction that's gonna like transpire. Obviously, that's been like probably his biggest blunders, one of his biggest blunders, or if it could be his biggest when it comes to the New Day stuff, because the heel turn, the moment was great, and you thought great things was going to happen. Nope. The opposite happened. It was them garnering heat because of what they did. Then they try to make them like a goofy kind of like heel thing where it's like, oh, we bring their family. Oh, their family disowns them because of what they did to Big E. That was more for like shits and giggles than like something serious. You know, them getting the tag titles, they weren't even used for like 7 weeks.
Happened 5 months too late.
It happened 5 months too late. And then after they got the titles, they weren't even used for weeks after that. And they were, from what I understood, they were healthy. They were healthy and fine, and they were not used. And for them to drop the titles, then you lose it to Finn and JD McDonough? Like, what? Like, what are we doing? You know, like, I think Finn and JD are fine together, but it's just the factor of it, where it's like, you know, you're kind of teasing this shit with Finn, so your idea is to give him a title back? Okay, that's what we're doing. That's choice. The whole thing with New Day is just, I don't know, man. They're very disappointing, very all around, very disappointing when it comes to like how they were used. All this shit that's supposed to be something big, and we end up being we got a shit sandwich. That's the best way to say it. I mean, besides that, I mean, Raw, I mean, from what I saw from Raw, it was fine. Yeah, I mean,
I thought it was a good episode.
Yeah, it was fine. You know,
despite my feelings about the New Day.
Yeah, like I thought Raw was fine. I actually enjoy watching Raw a lot more than SmackDown. Because they do have some moments. It does look better. It's better paced, even for 2.5 hours. It's just a better paced show.
Yeah,
but I mean, besides that, I mean, that was probably the biggest disappointing thing that happened on that show was the New Day stuff. Yeah, I mean, there's not much to really say when it comes to that, man. It's very disappointing.
Yeah, I enjoyed all the wrestling on the show. I thought Rusev and Sheamus exceeded my expectations. That was really good. I don't know if it needed to go 20 minutes long, but it was a really good match.
Yeah, and that one, I think that was like kind of the reception of that. It was like if people really liked it, they liked it. If people didn't like it, they said it was a boring match. And, you know, I think people just weren't into it. And, you know, in regards to like what they're doing with Rusev, this is kind of what I thought they were going to do with Rusev, honestly. Nothing big was going to happen with Rusev. You know, and, you know, there was maybe some little glimmer of hope when he cut that promo about like, oh, I was into the abyss and all this happened. We're kind of not really getting that. And it's just, he's just another guy that's just there. You know, because there's people who, there's people who, if they like the match, they like the match, but they also said it was too long. Maybe that's why people thought it was boring, because it went too long. And there was people who didn't like it, they just didn't like it. And they thought that it was going to be a banger. They thought they were getting this. I guess they didn't get what they wanted to get. And I know people were
I think there's just some people who don't like Rusev and don't like Rusev.
Yeah, you know,
I don't see how you could say that match was bad. It wasn't bad. It was good. Sheamus got a reaction. Rusev did not, but Sheamus did.
Yeah, I think that's what it was too. For me, it wasn't a bad match. Me personally, when I watched it, it wasn't a bad match. I did think it went too long. It went longer than it should have went. But I also did notice that the crowd just wasn't. They're not into Rusev. They're just not into him. People loved Rusev Day. They don't love Rusev.
We got Michael Allen Lewis with another super chat donation. You've been killing it today. We appreciate all the love in the chat, sir. He says, of course, Triple H don't see color. He don't see them in his main event. LOL. Yes. If he sees color in the main event, it's going to take him 30 seconds to pin them after a pedigree.
Oh, shit. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my.
Thank you, Michael, for the super chat donation. Setting me up. You set me up for the alley-oop and I slammed it down. Thank you, Michael. Appreciate you for that. But yes, unless The Rock is there, then we can have someone of color in the main event. A new report has an update on AJ Styles' contract status, as he has been in the news in regards to when his contract's going to expire. It was reported last September that Styles' contract was up at the end of the year or early this year. Styles was out of action for the early part of 2025 due to injury, but his contract would have most likely been up by now. Fightful Select reports that those familiar with the matter have said that according to those close to Styles, he signed a 1-year extension of his contract. There's no word on when the extension was signed nor when it might expire. Neither WWE nor AJ Styles confirmed the news to Fightful, and the report made clear that the word came from those close to Styles and not WWE itself. Styles last competed in the ring on the June 16th episode of Raw, defeating Chad Gable in singles action. I think he also picked up a win over JD McDonough a couple of weeks back before Dominic Mysterio was announced as being injured ahead of Night of Champions. But the big question is, AJ Styles in an interview, I think a couple of years back, says that he doesn't want to wrestle into his 50s. He's 48 years old now, and if he did sign a 1-year extension, do you think AJ Styles is going to retire next year? 0 to 100 on AJ Styles retiring in 2026.
I'm giving it 50%, and there's a reason why, but I'll let you go with your percentage.
I will go. I think AJ is a man of his word, but I don't think wrestlers are. So I will put it at 40%.
It's funny that you say that. It's because when AJ signed his first extension with WWE, he said openly that was gonna be his last contract.
Yeah.
And yet he's still here. So
he signed a second extension.
Yes. And I'm like, okay, bro, this is like legit like his third or fourth contract with WWE that he's right. He had a plan to retire like at 42, 43. He's already pushing 50. So I'm like, yeah, bro, I think you're gonna keep going. It seems like you can't let it go. I understand that. He's making great money. But AJ has fallen to that victim of, I'm going to retire at this age. Oh, wait, I'm still go. Wait, I'm going to sign an extension. That's what we're getting from the guy. So I put it at 50%. I think he wants to be the guy that wants to give his word. I think AJ wants to leave on his own terms. Like he wants to leave on a good note. And I think that's why because again, he was injured for like most of the last year. And I think maybe he wants to make that up. He wants to like a year where he's active and leaves on his own terms. So I could see maybe that's why. I could see that being a thing. But if it is his last year, I already said AJ has done it all. He got nothing to prove to me. I think he's one of the greatest performers of all time. And if it is his last year, man, I'll be in for the ride. I hope they do something nice for him, something significant, because I think he's done so much for pro wrestling itself that I think he kind of deserves that.
Very true. Very true. Power Drive Finisher puts it at 85%. Everybody in the chat, give us your percentage. What do you think? Do you think AJ Styles will be retiring next year? Let us know. 0 to 100. What do you put the percentage on? But we got some further news before we finish things up with NXT and Evolve. But Scarlett's WWE contract has become a point of contention, considering Karrion Kross's contract is apparently set to expire next month. Fightful Select reports that, as most would probably expect, Scarlett's WWE contract is set to expire in August as well, at the same time as her husband, Karrion Kross. The site reports that Scarlett signed her deal at the same time as Kross in August of 2022. People in WWE expected to will be staying, considering that they have been regularly featured on TV and was on the Night of Champions card, as well as having new merchandise. That said, there is no confirmation that a re-signing has taken place, but we'll do a percentage one more time. This has been a show of percentages. 0 to 100. Karrion Kross and Scarlett re-signing. I'm going to put it at 99%.
I'll put it at 100. They're re-signing. It's like, come on. Karrion has too much, like, he's been on the news feed, he's been on kind of the spotlight in WWE behind the scenes and on like social media. This is the best time to re-sign them. As far as what they do when they re-sign them, I don't know, because he hasn't wrestled as much. But I think it's a kind of a conclusion that he's going to resign because there's a big fan base that's behind him. His merch has been one of the best in the company. They're going to resign him.
Yeah. As far as the AJ Styles retirement, we got Grey Carter II, who put 60% on it. Call Me Mr. Bonda, very confident, saying 98%. We got ANJ Network, who says 70% for AJ's retirement. We got Chuck Berries, who puts it at 55%. And then as far as the Karrion Kross of it all, Grey Carter II says 100%. They wouldn't be getting more TV time if they weren't. Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they already signed some type of deal with WWE already. Yeah. And then finally, we have some news in regards to the newest WWE show, which will be debuting on Netflix later this month, WWE Unreal. It's because it's unreal how this is going to be a documentary, because it's not real at all. As previously reported, the new unscripted reality show from WWE is called WWE Unreal, will debut on Netflix on July 29th. Post Wrestling has details on each of the show's 5 episodes, including what each episode will focus on. The show is produced by Omaha Productions, NFL Films, Skydance Sports, and WWE. Chris Weir is the director, while Eric Powers is the showrunner. Executive producers include NFL Films' Ross Kentover, Jessica Brody, and Ken Rogers. Episode 1 will look at the WWE Raw on Netflix debut and premieres a focus on CM Punk, Cody Rhodes, and Rhea Ripley. Episode 2 will focus on the men's Royal Rumble match and the feud between Cody Rhodes and Kevin Owens, and there will be a spotlight on Jey Uso as well. Episode 3 focuses on the women, particularly Chelsea Green winning the U.S. title, Charlotte Flair returning, the women's Royal Rumble and Elimination Chambers, and a spotlight on Bianca Belair. The Rumble episodes have featured that follows a wrestler through the match in a continuous sequence, and it was described as visually compelling. Episode 4 covers John Cena's heel turn at the Elimination Chamber and how far they went to keep it a secret. It also looks at the men's Elimination Chamber matchup and the New Day's heel turn. Nick Khan will speak on this episode, which also features appearances from The Rock and Brian Gertz. Episode 5 focuses on WrestleMania, specifically Gunther and Jey Uso, CM Punk versus Seth Rollins versus Roman Reigns, Io Sky versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca Belair, and Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. It will include a scene of Triple H getting notes for the next night's Raw to highlight how WWE's creative process is continuous. Will you be watching WWE Unreal? Simple question.
Probably, yeah. So just so I can watch it and talk shit. If there's something that's bullshit, at least I could talk shit about it. So most likely I'll watch it. See? Yeah. Because we already saw that bullshit. Oh, we're gonna put the rocket on you when he said that to Jey Uso. When we all know that's bullshit. I mean, ended up being bullshit. So I can't wait to see more of the bullshit. Believe me.
We're gonna put the rocket on you, pal. Don't worry, Power Driver. He says nah. And Greg Carter, don't worry. He says absolutely not. We're gonna watch it for you. We might review every episode. Who knows? Who knows what we might do with this?
You can do that. You can do that. You can do that.
And then you got WWE NXT this week to finish off WWE. They did 627,000 viewers. The show featured Yoshihiko Inamura beating Jasper Troy in a good main event to become the number one contender to face Obafemi for the NXT Championship at Great American Bash. Post-match, Inamura had a stare down with Femi while Javon Evans delivered a cutter on Jasper. Joe Hendry picked up a win over Wesley in the opener after an assist from Mike Santana, who backed up his TNA peer against High Rise. Later, they set up a contract signing for the TNA World Title three-way against Trick Williams for Great American Bash. Izzy Dame and Tatum Paxley beat Sol Ruka and Zarya, with Izzy pinning the NXT Women's North American Champion to set up a title match at Great American Bash as well. Jordan Grace closed the broadcast with a promo talking about her shot at JC Jane for the NXT Women's Championship at WWE Evolution until Jane and Fatal Influence interrupted. After Fatal Influence attacked Jordan, it was Blake Monroe who made the save to set up Monroe and Grace versus Jane and Fallon Henley at Great American Bash. They just threw a whole bunch of matches at the board for Great American Bash. Yeah, they're really building to this big premium live event. Yay. Final news notes from WWE. Another talent from AAA has been signed as La Hydra appears to be under contract. A report from Fightful Select states that the longtime AAA star has told multiple people that she now has to get her upcoming wrestling dates cleared by WWE officials. While neither WWE nor AAA has officially confirmed the signing, sources close to La Hydra believe she is now under a deal with the company. This report adds to previous claims from early May that La Hydra was part of a group of AAA talent that had been signed to new contracts from WWE following the announcement of the acquisition. Her contract situation aligns with those reports, especially she is scheduled to compete at AAA's next event on July 11 in a mixed tag team matchup against WWE NXT's Lola Vice and TNA's Santino Marella, a booking that would logically require WWE's approval, but it should be controversial as La Hydra's brother was involved in very controversial matter with Stephanie Vicaire. So interesting. And a new report had some details in regards to NXT Europe, a latest update with the new brand from WWE. The European expansion, which was originally announced in 2022 when NXT UK was shut down, was planned for a 2023 launch, but has been delayed. PW Insider reported in May that there was some movement on the project, but Fightful Select's Corey Brenner has talked to talent and promoters in Europe about the possibility of the brand launching by the end of the year. According to the report, talent at the recent UK tryout were not told further details about NXT Europe other than it is still coming. There's been no indication that the tryout was connected to NXT Europe plans, and one former NXT UK talent said that the still coming update has been the party line from WWE when they've been asked about the project. One former NXT UK talent also said of the launch, they will believe it when they see it. It was noted that some European promoters believe that the recent movement could have something to do with AEW working to establish a foothold in the UK with the All-In events at Wembley Stadium, the upcoming AEW Dynamite taping, and Forbidden Door, which is taking place from the London O2 Arena. Some sources are hesitant some promoters are hesitant about the notion of NXT Europe taking talent away from them, but several others are firm with the idea being that the talent being signed is not the end of the world. Another promoter pointed out that the region was able to produce new stars after NXT UK and the COVID-19 pandemic, and believed that the same would happen if top stars go to NXT Europe. As far as talent goes, the notion of NXT Europe potentially launching this year has been generally positive in terms of how the brand could elevate the region stars and provide signed talents with more money. Several wrestlers stated that NXT Europe would need to pay more than NXT UK contracts did, as talent under the previous deals were encouraged to have second jobs. And it was also noted that several talents, particularly in the UK and France, do not believe that NXT Europe will be launching in the near future. So we shall see. We'll keep you updated on NXT Europe, which might be getting as many updates as Britt Baker's status with AEW. Be like a weather report. We'll keep you on track with the weather as it moves forward. And finally, from WWE, you had WWE Evolve. The show featured Lince Dorado and the LWO picking up a win over Vanity Project in a pretty decent trios main event, with Lince Dorado pinning the WWE Evolve men's champion Jackson Drake. Idris Enofe beat Jamar Hampton in the opener. Jin Tala defeated Layla Diggs to continue her winning streak, while Callie Armstrong and Natalya had a contract signing for their WWE Evolve Women's Championship match next week, where Natty got the better of Callie by making her tap in the sharpshooter to close the segment. So that was all from WWE this week. I see we got a bunch of comments for me to feature here in regards to NXT Europe. King of the North said, whatever promoter that said this is either of the knowledge they have an NXT Europe job or just stupid. Fair. That's fair. We also got Dion who says, stop with this expansion nonsense. Focus on improving what you have. WWE turning into Disney. Not turning into Disney. They're trying to be Disney.
They're trying to be. Yeah. That's the best. Yeah. And it's just meh. It's been meh so far.
Yeah. They're trying their best, but not really doing that well. We got Dion who also says, I can't remember the last time I watched NXT. It feels so devoid of stars. 2014 through 2020 NXT was the shit. Agreed. It's come along. Yeah. Not really a thing anymore. Call Me Mr. Bonda says, question SB, is WWE ID a flop? Haven't heard anyone talking about their championship tournament since Mania weekend. Their championship tournament is still going on with no end game at sight. So that's the reason why nobody's talking about it, because it's still going on. It started in Mania week. It's been 3 months. When do we have 3-month tournaments with no end goal in sight?
Yeah, and I think it's too convoluted, where it's just like they wanted to make it something and get a lot of brands involved. A lot of brands don't want to do business with them. It's one of those things where they're still trying to control it, but 3 months for something that's like is not really a big deal. Yeah, you're gonna get those kind of results.
Yeah. The people are just not going to be motivated to pay attention and keep track of it. And especially if you're only working with like a few different companies. I think it's been really like FSW and GCW that I've done a couple of shows associated with them. Some New York promotions, I've done some shows with them, but it hasn't been as widespread as probably WWE was hoping. Then you move over to NJPW. We had covered a bit of the main event last week, but we'll finish off with Tanahashi Jam, the show which featured Zack Sabre Jr. defeating Hiroki Goto in an excellent encounter to become a 2-time IWGP World Heavyweight Champion. The very controversial finish. We'll have some news about that shortly here. You also had El Phantasmo picking up a win over Taiji Ishimori in a solid bout to retain the NJPW World Television Championship. Bolton Oleg defeated Yuji Nagata in a decent match to retain the Never Openweight Championship, while in the main event, Hiroshi Tanahashi and Namichi Marufuji beat the current generation of Ryohei Uyoa and Kaito Kiyomiya in a very good tag team main event. So it was a good show overall, but that world title change, I don't know. We'll talk about it. NJPW Soul had their Friday show, which was day 8. You had the show featuring Gabe Kidd defeating Hiroshi Tanahashi in a great main event to retain the IWGP Global Heavyweight Championship. Post-match, Kidd cut an emotional promo about how much Tanahashi and New Japan Pro Wrestling means to him, bringing the ace to tears. Hontai's Toriano, Yo, and Master Wato defeated the House of Torture to win the Never Openweight 6-man tag team championships. Yoshihashi beat Chase Owens, while Ryohei Uyoa defeated Satoshi Kojima in a solid match for both Hashi and Uyoa to qualify for the G1 Climax 35 tournament. But we'll have some news in regards to the tournament shortly here. But in further New Japan news, they had some updates and reports about the title change for Zack Sabre Jr. recapturing the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship from Hiroki Goto at last Sunday's NJPW Tanahashi Jam. Fightful Select reports that the title change was met with shock from sources within the wrestling industry that spoke about the result. This marks Zack Sabre Jr.'s second reign with the title, and Goto held the title for 138 days. The title reign marked the first major world title win of Goto's New Japan career, finally winning the title at 45 years old. Wrestling Observer also reported Dave Meltzer saying directly that the title change had nothing to do with the injury that Goto suffered during the matchup, but that injury is apparently serious enough that we have some sad news, folks. Hiroki Goto has been forced to be pulled out of the NJPW G1 Climax 35 tournament due to the elbow injury he suffered against Zack Sabre Jr. at last Sunday's Tanahashi Jam. New Japan Pro Wrestling announced on Friday that Goto is out of the tournament due to injury. The full announcement reads Hiroki Goto to miss G1 Climax 35 and a last chance play-in gauntlet set. After medical evaluations through the week, it was determined that Hiroki Goto, who missed July 4th's New Japan Soul card as a result of an elbow injury sustained at Tanahashi Jam on June 29th, will be unable to compete in the G1 Climax 35 tournament and currently has no set date for a return. We apologize to fans looking forward to seeing Goto wrestle and appreciate your understanding. As a result, Goto's withdrawal from the tournament, his spot in the A block, will now have be determined by a last chance play-in gauntlet on the July 6th Kurgan Hall show. After defeats in each of the prior play-in matches, it will be Tomohiro Ishii, Taichi, Satoshi Kojima, and Chase Owens will compete in a gauntlet wherein random opening pairing will start, and after a wrestler is defeated, the next entrant will take their place until one remains, and the winner will compete in the G1 Climax 35 tournament. NJPW joins fans in wishing Goto a speedy and full recovery. This is a heartbreaking exit from the G1, man. Goto was having a Wrestler of the Year campaign. So I think that's why, we talked about it on last week's podcast. We were upset that he lost the title, but to hear that he got injured in the process, and, Wrestling Observer confirmed that the title change was always going to happen here at this event. So, you can't even say, oh, he only lost the title because he got injured. No, they were always going to have him lose the title. But then on top of that, him getting injured, it's just double the heartbreak.
Yeah, I mean, it sucks because again, we were praising his title run because we really didn't know what we were getting when he finally won the title, and it's been way more than we expected. So for it not only to end, but then that happens. At least he lost, and I'm saying that because imagine if he would have won and then he has the injury. he would have to vacate the title. So I think that would kind of been like more of a damper because it would have been like, damn, bro, you can't even like defend it. Like you can't even defend like your thing. So I think that would have been like more of a disappointment. But I mean, overall, I mean, it's very unfortunate. Just terrible timing, especially the G1 coming up. Very unfortunate.
It sucks. It really does suck. Yeah, I'm hoping Goto has a speedy recovery as well. A bunch of people saying the same thing in the chat. Great Carter II says, I'm tired of Goto threatening me with the possibility of Chase Owens G1 matches. Fair. Yes. This is true. And finally, we have some quick predictions for the Soul Tour, which continues tomorrow morning, day 9. You got a couple of big matches and some preliminary matches. In the main event, though, it's going to be for the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Championship. El Desperado defends against Kosei Fujita. Who you got?
I got the champion retaining.
I'm going to go with Fujita, new champion.
Oof.
For the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team Championships, it's going to be Sho and Doki of House of Torture versus Master Wato and Yo. Who you got?
I got the champions retaining. I ain't trying to have.
I mean, unfortunately, I think a House of Torture is going to retain.
It's like, damn.
They're going to retain, probably. Then we got the G1 Climax 35 Last Chance Play-In Gauntlet matchup. Chase Owens versus Satoshi Kojima versus Taichi versus Tomohiro Ishii. I'm going to go with Taichi to go to the G1.
I'm going with Taichi because I think I do see another excursion for Ishii. I do see that happening. So.
Yeah, I can see that as well. And then you also have on the show Hiroshi Tanahashi Final Road. He's going to go up against Tiger Mask in his 30th anniversary matchup. You got 6-man tag team action with the former LIJ versus TMDK, while Hontai will verse the rest of the House of Torture in 10-man tag team action. We'll have a review for NJPW Soul and the Tanahashi Jam Show on Monday with me, NJ News, and possibly Sanal. So join us live for that. But let's finish off what we missed with TNA Impact this week. The show featured the debut of the King's Speech with Frankie Kazarian, who had special guests Joe Hendry, Mike Santana, and TNA World Champion Trick Williams. This led to a back and forth between all three men ahead of their three-way at Slammiversary, and ended with Trick Williams laying out both Hendry and Santana by blasting them with the title to stand tall. Tasha Steelz set up an in-ring meeting between Mustafa Ali and Cedric Alexander, where they brought up their history together in 205 Live on basically putting it on the map. But Ali had none of that, and since people gave Alexander more credit than him, so he challenged Cedric to a matchup at Slammiversary, which Cedric accepted. Ali tried to attack, but Cedric got the first strike, and they took care of his security force alongside of the Great Hands. The Inspiration picked up a win over Victoria Crawford and Tessa Blanchard thanks to distraction from Indy Hartwell. Post-match, Indy and Tessa got into a pull-apart brawl to set up their match for Slammiversary. Later, it was announced the Inspiration will challenge the Elegance brand for the TNA Knockouts World Tag Team titles at Slammiversary as well. Nick Nemeth defeated Zachary Wentz in a fine matchup. Mance Warner versus Jake Something went to a no contest when Steve Macklin got involved, leading to a three-way for the TNA International Championship being announced for next week on Impact. Matt Cardona picked up a win over Eddie Edwards due to a distraction from Eddie's system stablemate, Brian Myers. Post-match, NXT's Dark State made their debut to attack Cardona. And Masha Slamovich beat Killer Kelly in a chain match to retain the TNA Knockouts World Championship. Post-match, the Fatal Influence showed up to attack Slamovich until Lei Ying Lee and Zaya Brookside made the save. This sets up Masha Slamovich versus the winner of NXT's Women's Championship matchup at WWE Evolution between JC Jane and Jordan Grace in a title versus title match at Slammiversary. They was just adding as many matches as possible for Slammiversary on this show, and they added some WWE talent for the show as well. So they know they need to sell some more tickets. Smart, TNA. Smart. But we've made it to the end of what we miss, and it's time for Chrissy Love's usual favorite time of the show, best and worst moment and match of the week. Josh, what was your best and worst of the week this week?
Best of the week. I'm gonna go with best of the week. I'm gonna go with AEW Dynamite. I thought the overall show was great. Really no complaints besides like the tag team stuff that happened. But overall, I mean, it was a great show, top to bottom. Great build up that they've been having for All In. The worst of the week, to me, is the New Day losing the tag titles.
That's fair. Yeah, I agree with you with the best of the week. I gave to AEW celebrating their 300th episode of Dynamite. Most people didn't give them to last until 2020. Yeah, I'm looking at you, Jim Cornette. And then you got worst of the week. I gave it to the WWE Evolution build.
I mean, that's fair too.
Yeah. Moment of the week. What you got?
Moment of the week. That's a good one. I'm gonna go with the Hangman stuff. I really enjoyed that segment, and then him giving a buckshot to Shafir. Oh my god, that was great stuff.
Yeah, it's tough. Moment of the week. Nothing really. I mean, I could probably give it to something from Dynamite. I'll give it to Kota Ibushi doing the Avalanche Tiger Driver. That was my moment of the week this week. That was awesome. And then we got our matches of the week. I numbered it down to 10 again. I'm so proud of myself. Honorable mention to MJF versus AR Fox versus Anthony Bowens versus Brody King from Dynamite 300, and Judgment Day versus New Day from Raw. Number 10 this week, you got Mercedes versus Mina from Dynamite 300. Number 9, Lucha Cousins versus Fraxium from SmackDown. Number 8, Sammy and Penta versus the Braun Stars from Raw. Number 7, Team Mortos versus Team Dorada from CMLL. Number 6, Rusev versus Sheamus from Raw. Number 5, Tanahashi and Marufuji versus Oyoa and Kiyomiya from Tanahashi Jam. Number 4, Gabe Kidd versus Hiroshi Tanahashi from NJPW Soul. Number 3, Okada Ibushi from Dynamite 300. Number 2, ZSJ versus Goto 3 from Tanahashi Jam. And number 1, Takeshita and the Bucks versus Bandito and Paragon from Dynamite 300. What you got?
Number 3, I got the tag team match from last night, SmackDown. The Lucha Cousins versus Fraxium. Really fun matchup. Really great matchup. And the crowd sucked, but matchup was great regardless. Number 2, I got Ibushi versus Okada because that was fun. Great scene. Ibushi, being Ibushi again. And I hope to see more of it. And number 1, I got that what was it? That 6-man tag from Dynamite, the Bucks and Tenose. Great stuff. That was by far better than I expected, but man, that match was fun.
Yes. So that brings us to a close on another edition of our flagship podcast. We appreciate all of y'all for joining us live. Appreciate y'all if you're watching us on demand. If you haven't already, drop the thumbs up. Josh, thank you as always. And let the people know where they can follow you on social media and when they'll see you again.
You can follow me on JamPunk321, Twitter and Instagram, and also my YouTube channel. I have a YouTube. I'm gonna put up a comment in the live chat. Just follow that link right there, like the name, the handle, or whatever you want to call it. Just follow that. I have a lot of shorts. But I also do plan on doing some blogs once I start getting the stuff going. Once I get a better camera and stuff like that. But I mean, yeah, you catch me there, and then I'll be back next weekend for the podcast. It's a lot we're doing next weekend. I'll probably most likely be in review for All In as well.
There we go. Yes, we got a whole big week of All In Texas content coming up. Friday, we got our All In Texas preview. Sunday, the review. Saturday, the flagship podcast. Plus, we'll have a watch party. We got WWE Evolution and Saturday night's main event preview on Wednesday. And, of course, Rated Raw review. AE Ramble. Follow me on the Twitter machine at Tru Heel SP3. Follow the gang, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok at Tru Heel Heat. And of course, thank you all for joining us live. You guys are always awesome. Thank you, Davion, who says Tru Heel He's in my top 10 wrestling podcasts to listen to. We're trying to get to the top 5 for Davion. We also got Power Driver Finisher, says Mercedes Mina, Ibushi, Okada, Paragon, and Gallus family for his matches of the week. We got a bunch of best of the week from King of the North, who says hashtag what is WrestleTix hiding, as well as we got moment of the week from Michael, who says Kenny Ibushi reunion, and we got worst of the week. Power Driver Finisher says Triple H. Good choice. But we will be back, of course, next Saturday with another edition of our flagship podcast, and we'll be live on Monday for our NJPW Tanahashi Jam and Soul review. So join us for that. Before the True Josh, it is me, your Tru Heel Phenom SP3. This has been Tru Heel Heat 336. Doctor is in or out. We are signing off until next time.